All right, we're live.
Welcome everyone, young and old, once again for the 11th or 12th year in a row. This is Top Down Perspectives Game of the Year celebration for 2022. We have a special guest this time, Nathan. Thanks for joining us.
Hi. I was on a couple of these a long time ago.
I'm Sean Booker.
Oh, I'm Paul Fleck.
I'm John Wheeler.
And just a quick thank you for the whole year, everyone, to you three who have been on the show and to everyone who listened. Special thank you to our patrons. And if you're not a patron, you should join our Patreon and get a bunch of bonus episodes. But for those who don't know how this system works, each of us have individual lists. We're not going to do a cumulative list. It just wouldn't make sense. We play two different of games.
Yeah.
There'd be some overlap between Paul and I, but John would screw it up. So
yeah, that's usually how it goes. I'm going to have a little bit of overlap with Paul, probably.
Maybe a bit, yeah. And I honestly, Nathan's a complete wild card.
Yep.
I have absolutely no idea.
Yep.
I was at a White Elephant, and a friend of mine got an Uno set that's all wild cards.
Oh, I've seen those, yeah.
And that's Nathan this time around.
Yep.
He's the Uno all wild, yeah.
Just pick up for a bunch of weird opinions over here that I'm keeping secret. So.
Yep. Each of our personal lists are secret from the rest of the hosts, so we will be learning along with you. We have a bunch of categories to go through, and if somehow you didn't know about the community survey that we put out at the beginning of the month, we also took a bunch of tallies from our listeners, and we will be announcing the winners for the similar categories. They have an extra one. We have some extra ones. So we'll all learn together and figure out what our favorites were, our least favorites, as well as the communities.
Right.
So sit back. This will be a fun episode. I always have such a fun time with this episode.
Yes.
Video games are great. And hey, I don't know about you guys, this year was a great year for video games.
It was pretty good. Yep.
I played more video games this year that came out this year than I think I might have in the last 5 or 6 years we've done this show.
Nice. Okay.
My tally said I played over 50 games that came out this year.
Wow.
Whoa. It's pretty good.
That is rare for me. I still have a sizable pile of shame, but
yeah, we all
last
do.
year's I think last year I played 32.
Nice.
Nathan,
how did you feel? You must have played more current games since you wanted to come on.
I at least had enough for a complete list this year. I was playing a lot of old stuff though, so my 20XX was way bigger than asked for, but I'll trim it down.
It always is.
Yeah. But hey, you mentioned it. That's a great one to start with. The John Wheeler 2022's 20XX Game of the Year. This is a category for games that came out in any year other than 2022 or last year that we played a significant amount of. We each have 3 ranked. John, it's your category. Why don't you start us off? What's your number 3?
I like how it's my category because I'm the one who plays the most older games out of anyone else in this group.
Yeah. You also sponsor this episode, so you.
Oh, is that how that works? Okay, that's fine. All right. Okay, so for the 20XX list, last year I started doing them mainly based off of stuff I played on stream because I do game clearing where I play through a bunch. However, not all the games this year actually on my list are actually from streaming. So, but at least 2 of them are. So let's start with my number 3. Momodora 4, Reverie Under the Moonlight.
This is weird. This is on my list somewhere too.
Nice. It is a good-ass game. It's a great Metroidvania, amazing sprite work. Just the right amount of challenge. Just honestly really good. Highly recommend this, and it's on a bunch of platforms. I'm just waiting for the next one to come out eventually.
Nice. I'm just gonna go in order of our window. So Paul, you're next.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
My number, so I cheated a little bit on this. My number 3 was Dead Space 1 and 2, like the pairing of them, revisiting Dead Space.
But not 3, so you can't say the trilogy.
I didn't revisit Dead Space 3. In fact, I've never beaten Dead Space 3 ever, so I don't actually know how that game is.
It's all right. I did a co-op. It's all right.
Yeah, I wanted to
see that
It's
end
not
boss.
Dead Space 2, but it's all right.
Yeah. So Dead Space duo or whatever. It was really great just revisiting that franchise and being kind of sucked back in that world, getting ready for the Dead Space remake that's coming out, and then Callisto Protocol, which we'll be talking about at some other point during the show. Yeah, it was a good time.
Where could we be talking about that, I wonder?
Wholesome, I'm assuming. It's
Yep.
in the wholesome,
totally.
cozy games. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan.
My bronze medal, pretty late entry. For some reason, Windows 11, I guess, kind of spotlighted the classic game of Solitaire about a month ago.
Nice. Yeah.
Nice,
And
nice.
there's like I started clicking around on the browser version and it's like, wait a minute, this is a Microsoft product. Is it on Game Pass? Yes, it is.
It
So you
is.
can earn achievements
Yes,
in
you
Microsoft
can.
Solitaire Collection.
Absolutely.
And just listen to Chili Wonka over and over again. It's a great song. So yeah, just music in Solitaire really has been quite fun. Brittany's been playing it too. We're both just achievement hunting and a lot of Klondike. That's my favorite, but Spider's pretty good also.
Klondike's the regular one, right?
Yeah, that's just regular Solitaire. Free Cell's kind of weird, but
Free
starting to
Cell's
get
my
into
favorite one, actually.
It's okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of there's
Pyramid.
5. There's like 5 modes.
You do like
Pyramid.
Pyramid?
And Pyramid's okay. I don't love Tri-Peaks. I think that's my least favorite.
Tri-Peak sucks.
it just-
Pyramids kind of sucks too, honestly.
This is the most detailed breakdown of Solitaire I think I've ever heard in my life.
I've been playing
I really-
Solitaire
I
all year
really-
as well, actually, but I didn't put
Yeah,
it
there's
down.
daily challenges and events and stuff.
Yeah, there is.
They just bring some of that gaming stuff into this. Is really fun. And then it has 1990 like Windows 3 card backs.
Yep.
So it's just like, oh man, that robot, I remember him. This is
Yeah.
great. So yeah,
Nice.
it's been really fun. This was going to be a wholesome nominee, but apparently that's only for new stuff. So I'll put it here.
I mean, I think
That's
that would have
like
classified for wholesome though. I could see that.
it-
I'm sure
it
there's,
would've
I'm sure a
worked.
new version of Solitaire got released this year somewhere.
I was trying to figure out when did this come out, and it's like a decade ago. So yeah.
My number 3 game is a game called Just Shapes and Beats. This is like a dodge 'em up kind of. It's a rhythm game where the music is causing like colors to appear on the screen in different shapes, and you have to move your ship out of those colors because they're like basically attacks. So as the music intensifies, there's more you have to dodge and whatnot. Soundtrack is fantastic. It's got some Chip Zell in there. It also has the Mortal Kombat theme in there, and they make some of the shapes dudes doing high kicks, and those are just flying across the screen that you have to dodge. It is pretty wild and a lot of fun. It's on like everything, and that's my number 3.
Nice.
My number 2 for 2022's 20XX Game of
hang
the
on, should we do
Year.
community number 3?
Oh, you're right. Sorry, I forgot. I thought they only had
Yeah.
one. Did we give them all 3?
The fifth man.
Okay, well, I'll tell you there are 3 that are all tied. Is Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Smash Bros. Ultimate, and Splatoon 2 all with 7 points.
Okay.
Not shocked by any of those. I'm more shocked that they're all 3rd.
Yeah, there is a second and a first that are
Wow.
clear winners, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
All right. My number 2 for 2022's 20XX Game of the Year, Devil May Cry 5.
Oh,
Finally
shit.
got around to actually playing through the whole thing. I guess I should say this is the special edition, not specifically just Vanilla 5. But I didn't actually play any of the SE content, I don't think. Because I didn't do Bloody Palace and I didn't play the Virgil content. So just the vanilla game. And honestly, game holds up pretty damn good.
Sure.
It's great playing as all the characters. Everyone plays in fun, interesting ways, even though V's kind of eh.
Yeah.
His character itself is just so deadpan, it kind of makes him fun. But like gameplay wise, it's just nice to play as the others. The story goes in the predictably stupid ways you'd expect. It is a Devil May Cry game through and through, but it's still stupidly fun because of that. So that's my number 2.
Yeah, that's a great one. I cheated again for number 2. I visited all the Momodora games, 1 to 4, and then Minoria as well, all by that dude. 4 is the one that like stands out of all of those, though. Reverie.
Oh, okay.
Reverie Under the Moonlight is just an absolutely fantastic game. It doesn't overstay its welcome, and it's just a great game.
Did you by any chance cheat on the whole list?
No, there is a number. There is a number 1.
It is actually 30 games.
Yeah,
So.
there's just 30 games listed here. No, there's a number 1.
So silver medal for me was The Outer Worlds, Obsidian's
Yeah.
kind of planet hopping RPG. I kind
That
of
was so good.
the year it came out, I kind of was hearing like, no, Outer Wilds is the one. It's like, oh, okay.
That one also
And that's a great
rocks.
game, but it's very different. And as like a Fallout New Vegas guy, I was like, oh my gosh, they made another one. This is really fun. So I played through all the DLC, and had a great time with, especially like the clothes. I'm just gonna highlight that. Great digital clothes in that game.
Okay.
So
who is your favorite companion?
My favorite probably the engineer lady. I think
Yeah.
she was pretty great. And I wish that robot talked more. I really wanted him around, but it's just like he's just a cleaning robot. He's just gonna talk about cleaning. It's like, all right, I kind of wish you could make him sentient or something, but whatever. Yeah, just a great time. I was really surprised by how sharp that was. So look forward to the second one.
Doesn't the ship and the robot get it on? You can walk in on them.
You can walk in on them like, oh, he's cleaning the bridge again. What's that about? I didn't ask for that. So, yeah, there's some fun character stuff in that. So yeah, really engaged by that one.
My number 2 is Horizon Zero Dawn. In the lead up to Forbidden West coming out, I restarted and actually finished it this time. It ended up being my most played PlayStation game of the year when that roundup came out. And I went through the DLC, the Frozen Wilds or whatever it's called, and that's a great game. I just put it on like story difficulty and just kind of went through the story and as fast as I could, and it still ended up taking like 30 hours or something like that. And then I was ready for Zero Dawn like a month later. I was ready for Forbidden West a month later.
Nice. Community's 20XX number 2 was Persona 5 Royal.
Okay, right on.
Okay, yeah. All right, my number 1 for 2022's 20XX Game of the Year. This one wasn't done on stream. Monster Boy and the Cursed Kingdom.
Nice.
This is the most recent Monster Boy game, a gigantic Metroidvania and a love letter to the entirety of the series of Monster Boy. It basically fleshes out everything. It's animated gorgeously. A little clunky, but I feel like that's just kind of how the Monster Boy games are. But like, there was just so much to it. The maps were huge. There's like some of the secrets were legit stumped me. I had to look some stuff up. Like, it was genuinely a fun game. Nice being able to go through the transformations on the fly. Even sequel bait was even put in there. So like, they're planning on doing something else, but like genuinely just like a charming, fun game. Maybe a bit longer than it needed to be, but it was still really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. So that's my number 1.
Nice.
Okay.
My number 1 is Sin and Punishment. That got
good choice.
re-released, whatever you want to call it, on the N64 expansion stuff on the Switch. I played a little bit back a while ago, I think on an emulator. Couldn't get into it. It just didn't feel right. But I have that N64 controller. Just sat down and played the shit out. Like, I didn't even talk about it because it never came up on the show or anything. I played this so much that I was considering speedrunning it. I got super into this for like 2 weeks. Yeah, I played just hours and hours of it. That game is incredible. That's one of the best games I've ever played.
Wow. I praise.
Gold medal for me is Bloodborne. I finally figured it out, I guess. I'd been trying it for years and just like, this does not work the way Dark Souls works. I don't understand what's going on. But once I just, you have to be way more aggressive. Like, you are the guy attacking everybody. It's like, oh, okay, great. And then I was able to just enjoy the monster designs and everything. I got the platinum on this. I did the old Hunters DLC or whatever. Got all the trophies there too. So I was kicked off the year in like February timeframe when everyone was getting ready for Elden Ring. I was just like, I'm gonna go back to this one and satisfy that whole realm with this game instead. So it's pretty awesome. I was missed the boat 7 years ago. Should have been on there, but it's good. They did a good job. They did a great job with that one.
Nice.
And my favorite game that came out a while ago that I played this year was Signs of the Sojourner, which is a card roguelite game about language where you are progressing through the world, learning new languages while also forgetting your home language, and that opens up new paths. And it's just really smart, and it's kind of a puzzle game. The characters are great, and the art's really great. It has some really good audio design. And I enjoyed that tremendously.
Nice. Community 20XX Game of the Year. It's going to make sense as soon as I say it. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yeah,
Sure.
that tracks.
Yep.
I wonder if that's one repeatedly. We'd have to
No.
go back and look, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Probably not. I think it's really just the biggest boost because of the new tracks.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. All right. That's the first category. Moving on to a similar category, 2022's 2021 Game of the Year. So this is a game that came out last year. You played it enough of this year. You wanted to shout them out. Again, 3 games we have. John, start us off.
All right. Starting off this category with my number 3, Spectacular Sparky, done by the creator of the Angry Video Game Nerd video games. This is basically a Genesis shoot 'em up love letter. It's got the weird charm that the Genesis twang does, like giant, happy, ridiculous sprites. It's just very over animated, very silly. Has a bunch of like goofy voice acting. It's just like a fun, like just weird platforming shooter. It's just a great little time.
Nice. I've never heard of this.
I don't have a number 3. I only have 2 entries for this.
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh, hey, Paul. I'm on the exact same page as you. No third place podium for me on this one. I only have 2.
Okay.
All right. I have a number 3, and that is Deathloop.
Sure. Okay.
It got released on Game Pass, and after I had kind of fallen off of it on the PS5, I figured, hey, let's give it another try and start over. I did, and I finally figured it out, and it clicked, and I went through it. And a bunch of the end game achievements glitched, and I didn't get them, and that still hurts. But I played through that, and I was able to fully see the whole story. Surprisingly, I did not have it spoiled for me, so that was nice.
Wow. Nice. The community's last year's game of the year was Psychonauts 2.
Oh, good choice.
That's their third one, right?
Third. Yeah.
Third, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. My number 2 for 2022's 2021 Game of the Year, Mario Golf Super Rush, because I was like the only person who liked this game, it felt like.
True.
But it got a bunch of extra courses. I already liked it out of the gate. They doubled the course amount. The online was surprisingly good. It was just like a fun game. Still some gripes about it, some weird things I wish they had not done, like just the standoff with super shots and stuff like that. But like generally like a fun golf game, especially if you had friends to play with.
Sure. My number 2 was The Ascent, that top-down isometric shooter thing, the dual.
I played through this.
Yeah, I played a bit of it last year when it came out. Didn't get too far into it. Other stuff had come out or whatever. They released some DLC for it, and I revisited this year. It clicked, and I just spent like 20, 30 hours in that game. Like, I just fell in love with it, doing every little thing in it. So,
Did you do the DLC?
I did.
I haven't done the DLC yet, so I still have to go back to that.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Sorry to fumble this here, but John talking about Mario Golf reminded me that I played WarioWare Get It Together this year, and that did come out last year, and I did not hate my time with it. So that is my 3rd place. I'm not going to elaborate.
Okay.
That game is bad.
Yeah,
it's kind of wonky, but I still found it kind of charming. So there's things I like in it.
I love how you're like, I'm not going to elaborate because like these two here have gone on record saying that they don't like it very much, and you're the one person that's like, it's pretty good.
You get to play as Nightbolt's mom, and she's got like a ghost form. It's kind of great, but whatever. Silver medal is Outriders. That is that kind of
That's a great game.
Gears of War kind of thing. It really reminded me why I like that stop and pop combat. I think I was coming off of playing like Bulletstorm this year too, so I was like, what other people can fly things happened? And I was like, oh, they made this big thing. I was like, great. And it was on Game Pass, and I played it for quite a while. I eventually lost the plot with it and kind of fell off, but I was really enjoying my time with it.
We all did.
What was your class?
Oh my gosh. Is there like a gun chromancer or something like this? I was some sort of necromancer, I believe.
So.
Technomancer, something like that.
Something like that. Okay.
Yeah. But I was quite enjoying it. I basically just had to uninstall it to free up space to play some other stuff. So I'm still generally open to going back to that game. It seemed really cool. I like that there's a little skull that appears when you kill a guy. It's a nice little like flare of detail. Or the big radius when the grenades land near you. But sorry, Trickster.
I was the Trickster, so I was the one that like teleports around the map and can slow down time and stuff. And the Trickster has a sword, that if you cut someone, it removes all of their flesh and you get to see their skeleton for a couple seconds.
Pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. It was violent and crazy, and I enjoyed it. So yeah,
Nice.
Outriders.
Okay, so it's me now for number 2.
Yeah.
And that is the great Ace Attorney Chronicles. This is the year that I finished up the first one of those. I still have not started the second one. I went and played a bunch of other visual novels, so I still have to get back to that. So this game might show up in a future list. But it's more Ace Attorney. Of course, I got to get it somewhere on this podcast roundup for sure.
Fun fact, that game, your number 2 is the community's number 4. Their number 2 was Metroid Dread.
Sure.
Oh,
Nice.
that was last year.
Yep.
Which means we're on number 1,
Yep.
which is Mario Party Superstars. Because it's the best Mario Party's been in a while, and it's sad to say that it's just like, yeah, it's just because we added online to the old game. But it's kind of true. I have a lot of friends that just really like Mario Party, so we play it a lot, and honestly, it's led to a bunch of funny moments, funny conversations, and it's just genuinely a fun game to play. And the netcode isn't terrible and actually saves your progress if a disconnection happens, which is surprisingly a non-Nintendo thing.
Yeah, that's incredible.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so honestly, yeah, easy number 1.
My number 1 just makes sense, I think. Monster Hunter Rise. I replayed it. Came out on PC this year. Replayed through all of that. Picked up the DLC. Monster Hunter Rise has been in my life for 2 years now, just straight. So yeah.
Nice.
Number 1 for me is Forza Horizon 5.
Okay.
Great game.
It just the way it kicks off with you just airdropping in on all this stuff. It's like, here's another vehicle type. It's falling out of the sky and you're racing. It's like, this is great. This is making a crazy good first impression.
Absolutely.
So yeah, just racing around. I'd only really played the first one, I think, prior to this. So it was like a giant jump forward in terms of just detail and how much stuff is in it. It's still a live game, I guess. So they were throwing a bunch of new season stuff at me, but it's old, I guess. It's last year, so.
You didn't play some of the previous ones. Did you get the Hot Wheels DLC?
I think it's on the map there. I think they threw it in. But I didn't go do any of those events. Yeah.
You have to I don't like if you own it or not. It might come with Game Pass. I don't remember.
Oh, maybe they're just telling me about it.
Yeah, I think they're just telling
you should get this. Pretty good.
You should get this because you didn't experience the Hot Wheels DLC the first time they did it. The Hot Wheels DLC is real fun because you're driving upside down, going like ridiculous speeds, big orange tracks.
I won't shirk that stuff then when I get back to it. But yeah, just a fun, varied racing game. So
nice.
Yeah.
And my favorite game from last year is The Big Con. Which is basically a point-and-click adventure, but it's kind of set in like the 90s if everything was like Nickelodeon, which is very much my shit. And there's just a lot of good gags. I liked the characters. I think it has some really fun writing, and it hits all the nostalgia for me.
Cool. The community's choice was right with John with Mario Party.
Yep, that's what I figured.
All right. Well, hey, speaking of Mario Party, the next category is disappointing game of the year.
I knew where it was going.
John, what was your third most disappointing game?
I actually have 4 on here, so I'm going to give a special shout out to a game called Soldiers, Souldiers. This was
what?
Yeah.
That sucks. Okay.
So here's the thing. Here's the big thing. I played the Switch version. This is why it's on my list.
Oh.
The Switch version runs like shit.
Oh, okay.
It has ridiculous load times, ridiculous hitches and pauses. I think they patched some of it out, but legitimately, what seemed like such a super fun, interesting 2D Metroidvania really got held back by just the Switch. And it's really a game that shouldn't have been held back by the Switch because it's just a 2D game. Like, it's not doing anything too extreme from what I could see, but it just ran poorly, which sucks because I kept trying to give it a chance because the game itself is great. Playing the game was fun. It controls really tightly. The classes are fun, interesting, stuff like that. The combat seems good. It's difficult, but just the Switch version just really bummed me out. So That's why I made my list as an honorable mention. But my actual number 3 for most disappointing of the year, Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
That's too bad.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
I like this game.
So I have multiple reasons kind of going in for being disappointed on this one. I'm a big Kirby fan. Grew up with the series 3 years. Loved pretty much every game. However, the last few have just not grabbed me very well. And the bummer thing about this one was everyone was praising this. Everyone's like, this is a great 3. Like, it's great seeing Kirby in 3D. Like, it plays really good. It'll be great. And at the time, I was playing Elden Ring. So everyone was like, oh, dude, when you're done Elden Ring, it's going to be a great palate cleanser for you after that. Because it's like such a nice, chill game. Too easy, too chill, and they dumbed down the moves even more than usual for a Kirby game, which already wasn't that complex. So I was just bored the entire time. Like, literally just did not have fun. The only time I remember being like, all right, I'm actually having fun now, was the hidden final boss. That was it. So I spent like, I don't know how many hours 100%ing the game and only had fun at the very end of it. And I was just like, this sucks. This really sucks. So, yeah, that's on top of a couple other things. Like, I really did not like the fact that the missions that you were given, you didn't know the list until after you beat the stage.
Yeah.
And then they only told you one of the missions.
Sure.
So you had to, if you didn't get lucky and strike on them, you had to keep doing the stages over and over again, which just made the game just feel like padding and drag it out.
Yeah.
I didn't like how they handled like the power-ups. They just oversimplified them. I get why they did. I just didn't like that change. So yeah, overall, I was pretty disappointed in it. If they do a sequel, it'll probably be better, and I'll probably like that one more. But I was pretty disappointed in this one.
Yeah, that's too bad. Don't worry, you'll hear more praise in a bit. Game. Yeah, don't worry. Well, then I'm gonna throw out an honorable mention because I cut this at the last second. But fuck you, Rainbow Six Extraction. You suck. You fucking suck.
How did that make it? What in the world is your top 3 if that didn't make it on there? Wow.
I wasn't expecting much from it. I just want to say fuck that game. My number 3 is the Callisto Protocol.
Oh.
Yeah.
I just wanted that to be good. And it was maybe a little bit less than good. It wasn't terrible. It's forgettable. And like after just coming off of Dead Space 1 and 2, which are a decade old now, and just being like, man, this is a great formula. They could never fuck this up.
Surprise.
Yeah. The Callisto Protocol I just wish was better than it was. I don't think it's terrible, and I don't think it's good, but I it's my type of shit. It should have been good.
I think I'll stick with 2 on this one. There's a couple games I went in with hopes and bounced off of. That's kind of what I reserved this for. So games that kind of are low on my list for reasons I'll explain later.
I think that's the entirety of my list is games I had hopes for.
Sure. That's what this category is. So
yeah.
So then me for number 3, disappointing is Somerville.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, this is from some ex-Playdead people who did Limbo and Inside, and they kind of made another one of those with a few more mechanics and just kind of the way that the stages are set up and how they kind of telegraph or really don't telegraph kind of where you're supposed to go next. It's a lot of you walking into a wall, walking into another wall, hoping that you stumbled across the back thing behind it that your character can actually go through despite them not telling you that, and then looking up a guide and being like, oh, I was supposed to push harder into the wall. Okay, well, whatever. And then the whole kind of final section with the final encounter is just a guessing game, and then you luck into one of the endings and you don't even really know what you did, and you have to look it up to see what was I supposed to do. And it's just weird and far too obtuse, which is a bummer because like I was pretty excited for it based on the pedigree and some of the first trailers. So
sure. Community's number 3 was Nintendo Switch Sports.
Okay,
it was this year.
Yeah.
All right, my number 2, Chocobo GP. I really like Chocobo Racing on the PS1. It's actually a super
fun
game.
That got shut down.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was shut down after 5. Well, it's shut down. They're not making more new content for it. It got released near the beginning of the year. Those who were looking at it said it looked really good. Honestly, it looked like exactly what I wanted out of Chocobo Racing, like a sequel. And then they microtransactioned and battle passed it to hell. So you had currency that apparently could expire, which I think was like a whole weird thing that they just kind of skimmed over and like fixed. They just really monetized it way too heavily, and it just killed any momentum that game could have had. I think that legit would have had a good chance of getting like good attention, but it's the way they did everything just to try to make it a game as a service flopped. Like the game came out, I think, in January, and they're no longer doing new development for it now after, I think it might even be less, because I thought they said it was only 5 months because they did 5 seasons of the game. But yeah, no, I was just really excited when I heard we were getting a new Chocobo Racing game, and to find out it just got monetized to hell and then just kind of left at the wayside, especially considering there was a full price version of the game you could still buy. Very disappointing.
Sure, yeah. My number 2 is Scorn. I've been looking forward to that game for what feels like a decade, even though it's been like 4 years or something, 5 years. And that game is just kind of a miraculous piece of shit. So that sucks.
I hear it's good to look at, though.
It's pretty good to look. If you want to go in there and just like take screenshots and stuff, there's some weird, neat,
messed up visuals.
There's some messed up visuals. A lot of just insane sexual weird stuff going on, as you would expect from Geiger's esque stuff. The gameplay just sucks, though. It's just bad. Being in that world is kind of cool, but actually interacting with the thing sucks the whole time.
Heard that, yeah.
I mean, again, I'm kind of doing a surface level. Like, I touched this a couple times, wasn't getting into it. Midnight Fight Express. I was kind of hoping for a Hotline Miami, but 3D kind of thing.
And with you, I bounced off hard.
It just wasn't hitting hard enough.
I really wanted that one to be good.
I actually played through that whole game.
Is it short? It seems short, like it might be short.
There's 40 stages, I think.
Oh my god! Okay,
that doesn't sound short. At the outset, I was just like, "Man, this isn't clicking with me. I don't like things about it." Pretty early on, so yeah, not violent enough. That's my note.
Kind of. No, I kind of agree.
Like I watched a video where a guy gets his head blown off. It's like, when did it happen? And it's like, no, it happened. Oh wow, you need to make that chunky and crazy then. Like if this whole thing is about vicious, gnarly fights, I want to feel that. And I wasn't feeling that. Like just that Hotline Miami made me feel like, wow, this is gross how violent this is with like pixels like a decade ago. It just kind of underdelivered to me. So yeah, Game Pass makes it easy to touch stuff and then go, uninstall it.
Totally.
So yeah.
My number 2 is Overwatch 2.
Okay.
And this is kind of funny because I actually have been playing quite a bit of Overwatch 2. So I'm still playing like a good chunk of it and having fun. But that's probably also because like my co-op buddy is getting into Overwatch for the first time. So it's kind of reigniting my interest in it. But from a pure like, what did they put into Overwatch 2? Why did they completely shut down Overwatch 1 and made everyone play Overwatch 2? It's the same game.
Right.
But a bunch of the stages are now set to nighttime. And a bunch of the stages are now set to daytime. You know, they've started introducing some new characters again, and that's fun. And because nobody is playing support, I'm forcing myself to play some new characters, and I'm learning more characters. So I'm having a good time. But in terms of a sequel, this is pretty depressing, and the PvE stuff is still like nowhere to be seen, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I get it. I've heard a lot of people say, like, Overwatch 2 is great, but I mean, I liked Overwatch 1, so of course it was going to be fine.
Yep.
Wait, the PvE stuff's still not in the game?
It's still not there. No.
It's not even mentioned. No, we have no idea where it is.
Yeah. Crazy. The community number 2, Mario Strikers Battle League.
And that's also my number 1, which will surprise absolutely no one. Yep, Mario Strikers Battle League. This is probably the game I had been the most excited for this year. One of, I should say, rather. And it just let me down. It just didn't feel right. It felt like it was lacking content. The complaints everyone had about Mario Golf the previous year, I had about this year about Mario Strikers Battle League. It supposedly is already done getting DLC, which is also a bummer. because they added like 2 new courts to add the court count to like 7, maybe 8. They added like 6 more characters, but then like they said they're done with the free content, which makes me hope for maybe some decent paid DLC, but I doubt it. It just feels like Next Level just wasn't given the time to work on this. Everything just didn't quite feel right about it. The online seemed all right, and that was probably the thing I had the most fun with, was being able to play with some friends. But like, just the goalie felt awful. It felt like just you were just scoring nonstop. You didn't even have to try. It just felt weirdly inconsistent. I was just let down. And I know like the other Striker games are not the most dependable goalie wise, but like I don't know how this one somehow felt like it missed the mark even more. It's really weird. Just the little tweaks they made to previous games just didn't feel right. And yeah, I was bummed out about it. I know people still enjoy the game, but like for me, fell flat.
Yeah, bummer. All right, we gotta talk about Pokemon Violet and Scarlet, because that's my number one.
I knew that would hit for someone, probably even
this
the community.
This is also my number one.
It's literally just like, that game is fun. That gameplay loop is fun. That product is garbage, and it should never have been sold for money. It's absolutely abysmal what they've done with that thing, and that's really disappointing, because I really like the game when it's working somewhat normal at 10 frames a second. If we can get 10 frames steady, even. Yeah, I don't know. That it just feels bad.
Honestly, like I'm almost angry. Like this is heartbreaking.
Yeah.
People have been asking for an open world Pokemon for so long. They finally did it, and every part of this game actively pushes you away from wanting to play it. Like the fact that the draw distance is so bad, you can't even do the like, I'm gonna go over there and explore. What should I head towards? I don't know. The blob that's over there. I don't know what that is. Oh, I guess it was a tree. Like, oh.
And it hurts it so much too when it's an open world, like you're looking around for Pokemon and they're not popping in time while you're like riding by. Yeah, like, yeah. What an absolute disappointment. Or
maybe you're trying to like bike somewhere on your bike Pokemon, and the draw distance is so poor that they'll appear like right in front of you, and you're just like, oh crap, I'm in a battle now. Well, too bad I didn't see that coming.
And that's not it. And that's like if you don't fall through the world while doing it. Yeah, it's so bad.
Having a Pokemon battle and the Pokemon just disappear. Okay, well, it is what it is. Like it is probably the worst optimized first party Nintendo game I have ever played.
It's so bad. Yeah,
it's definitely up there, if not the leader on that.
Yeah. It is pretty outstanding how much they fumbled this.
Yeah, it's too bad.
I'm kind of sweating bullets over here because I know this is not a good opinion for this group, but I'm going to give some context. This, like, with the last one, I put it on the game. That game failed me. I failed this game a little bit. I went into...
What?
So the first like 4 months of the year, I was playing nonstop Soul stuff, really getting into that. I have to play those when my wife's on a business trip or something, because I just become a raging like wrath cauldron when I'm playing some of that stuff.
Yeah.
So when I went into Tunic, I was expecting just the chillest, fezziest, funnest, light thing. It's like, so I was like, oh, I'll be at the controls, and my wife will be here. She loves Fez. I've heard it's kind of like Fez, but Zelda.
It is. Yeah.
But that combat was just like too stiff, like too hard for me in that state. I couldn't vibe out with it the way I wanted. I was just like, man, this is really tough. Like, this is kind of intense.
Okay.
So I'm in the Souls space when I'm playing this, but my wife's here. This is terrible. So it put me in like, I can't play this when like this. Like I can't engage with this game the way I wanted to. So and I also feel like I kind of wandered into areas of that game like in the wrong order. Like it's just you didn't
encouraged. You can do that, yeah.
But it's like, I fought all my way down here with all my consumable firecrackers or whatever, and then there's just like a pink barrier that I don't know what to do with. So I guess I just screwed up. Like it kind of made me feel like I brained myself on a wall in that game.
Yeah, I had the same problem actually. Are you talking about the quarry by chance? You found your way down there. You're like, oh my god, what the fuck am I supposed to?
And it's like, I should have gone into this other room, and there's a page that explains all this stuff like way earlier. I was like, man, I wish I did that before I got so mad at this game. So I haven't uninstalled it. I'm open to giving it another go in a totally different state of mind, but it just didn't click the way I wanted at the time. So,
Sure.
because I went into it with a lot of like, this is like Jeff Gerstmann's favorite game of the year. I gotta check it out, and it's like, oh, I don't understand. Like, it looks like Link's Awakening for the Switch, kind of cute and fuzzy, but it's punching me in the nose, and I didn't think it would do that. So. That's why I feel that way about it. I'm sure it's actually good. I just couldn't get over the hump. So
that's fair. We've had games like that before. I'm not gonna lie though. This was actually, from what I remember of you liking Fez so much, I had this kind of pegged as your game of the year.
Yeah. Oh no, I went in with hopes, but it bounced right off me.
I will say there are accessibility options in there where you can turn the fighting pretty much off. Like you can make yourself invincible. So that might be an avenue to go down. I know a ton of people don't care about that combat and they just want the puzzle. Maybe that's what you need to do.
That's me. I think that combat is okay. I don't necessarily listen. Tunic is straight up one of my games of the year. I'm just gonna tell you now.
I figured it would be.
That combat is kind of bad in some spots, just straight up. Some of those bosses.
Well, it's got like old school Zelda charm, and I was okay with dealing with that. But over and over, it's like
one of those boss fights is garbage. One of those boss fights is fucking terrible, and it's indefensibly bad. So I get it. I understand your reasoning at least.
I will say, like
this one, I gave way more time than Midnight Fight. This was like, no, I want to crack the code, and I feel like I felt about like Bloodborne 7 years ago when I just didn't get it. It's that kind of thing.
Sure.
I went through it. I did on default. I kept the combat as is. I didn't have an issue with it, but I do think where it shines is the puzzle and the whole manual thing. So if turning the combat off will get you back into what's important about the game, I think you should try that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
We said my number one already. That was Pokemon Violet.
Oh, and in that case, we've said the community's number one because it's Pokemon Violet / Scarlet.
Yep. Not surprised.
All right. 3 votes, so I think that means it is, in fact, the most disappointing.
It gets thrown in the volcano.
Which would be fun to find where it is on the actual Game of the Year list, because I can guarantee it's in that top 10 somewhere.
Probably is.
Oh my god, I don't know if it is. Yeah, I won't look until we get there, but yeah, I don't remember.
The inverse to the disappointing Game of the Year is Surprise of the Year, so something that...
I have a lot of these.
This is a positive surprise. So maybe you weren't expecting it. It came out of nowhere. Something you had low expectations for, and you were pleasantly pleased. That's this next category.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I have 8 of these.
Oh my god!
It's non-stop surprise over there.
I'll pare it down to 6.
State.
I can pare it down to 6.
All right.
Okay. I have 3, just like every other category.
My number 3, since we talked about Pokemon Legend Arceus. Because I'm going to be real, I had 0 expectations for that because they were being really weird about that. And because it was the first open world thing, like the internet was crapping on it because that's what the internet does to Pokemon games. I had 0 positive expectations for this. And then suddenly when it came out, everyone's like, oh no, this is actually really good. Like a lot of people were like actually praising it. A lot of my friend circles like, no, there's not really many issues with it. Some pop up, that's it. And just like it just generally got good praise, especially for their first time seeming to do like an open world style game. The bit I played of it on stream, I liked as well. So I was like, okay, this actually seems genuinely interesting. And it's nice to see like what I thought was a spin-off. Apparently it's considered a mainline game now. Ended up actually being pretty cool. And that's also part of why Violet and Scarlet kind of sting a bit, I assume, because that one was also this year and launched a lot smoother. So that was my number 3.
To add on to that, I just like Pokemon Legends Arceus is the best Pokemon game that came out this year, in my opinion. And I think it is so cool that they took such a crazy chance with it and they mixed up the formula completely. Like even Scarlet and Violet go back to the typical, you're like a 10-year-old kid becoming a master trainer or whatever. This one is completely new story, new stakes are going on. It's so interesting. The Pokemon can attack you and you can get knocked out, which is cool. And they removed that aspect of it too. Scarlet and Violet Legends is it's what I've been asking. Like shake Pokemon up please, even just a little bit. And they did that. So Legends is very cool.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you want to go through, Paul?
No, I'll just give it a shout out. Hooked on You existing is dumb. That is a stupid thing. The Dead by Daylight visual novel thing. So it was just surprising. Also The Quarry, because The Quarry. I wasn't expecting that they were gonna do a kind of Until Dawn thing, and then they did a kind of Until Dawn thing, even though they're doing the Dark Pictures anthology at the same time, and it kind of came out like a few months after they announced it. That was just kind of cool. Surprising, you would say.
Quarry is fun.
Yeah. Agreed.
I'm just really happy this game escaped the most disappointing category I thought it would be on there. Saints Row for me, the new one.
Oh yeah, that was this year.
Yeah, I went in with really low expectations because of the Metascore, and Gertzman was pretty unflinching and hating it. I kind of liked it. I was like, oh, it's kind of like 1 and 2. I like those games. It was a little glitchy. I had a really buggy time. I did all the side activities though, and got that skyscraper, which unlocked a B-52's music video thing, and then the game crashed to desktop. So it's kind of bad, but I got into like a open world groove with it. I like that you could collect weird oddities in the open world with your camera, and they just appear back at your base. I thought that was kind of fun. The roommates that you're helping out are kind of just a fun little group of characters. Yeah, it just kind of brought me back to 2008, I guess, when 2 came out. I was like, oh, it's kind of like that. I like that game. So, yeah, I was surprised it was as fun as it was, I guess. I wasn't expecting it to be good. So, I thought it was good.
Yeah, I just didn't play it because of all the bad press it was getting. It is on my to play list for sure, especially because it has co-op, and I'm hoping it just is in better shape by the time I clear up some co-op.
Really technically crazy when I was playing it, but I was like, whatever. Like, we just got a new video card. I'm gonna see how this. Oh wow! Occasionally this looks horrible, and then it figures it out for like half an hour. I don't know. It got me back into open world crime game stuff for a little while there. Like, it kicked off a GTA 5 replay for me and stuff.
Nice.
So
Cool.
yeah.
My number 3. Now, let me just preface this. This is a bad game.
Okay.
But my expectations were so in the dirt. The fact that I didn't hate myself playing it says something, and that is Sonic Frontiers.
Hey.
Wow.
This was at one point on my game of the year. At one point.
It's on my pile of shame. Like, I kind of wanted to look at it. It looked interesting.
I am fascinated with this game. Every time they have a good idea, they shoot themselves in both feet. And Sonic is a character all about feet. So think about that.
Just bloody shoes as he runs around.
For every one step forward, it takes 2 steps back, and you're just like, okay, what? But you can't focus on it long enough because there's something else that's going to confuse you. But you know what? It might be my favorite Sonic game, but again,
there's the good part.
That's a very low floor. Sonic has a very low floor and a very low ceiling. Like, that room is like this tall. So, I don't know. It was my number 3 surprise of the year.
Okay.
Reminder to people that if you sign up for the Patreon, you will be hearing our extensive thoughts on that soon.
Yes, we are recording that episode next week. So, definitely come back for that.
Yeah, a little taste of things to come, I guess. The communities, number 3 was split between 3 different... There was a tie between 3. It was Vampire Survivors, Pokemon Legends Arceus, and Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Okay.
All surprises, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you. Yeah.
Yeah, surprise number 2. Surprise of the year number 2 for me, Metal Hellsinger.
Nice.
For a couple reasons on this one. 1, it felt like it kind of came out of nowhere. 2, it just kind of had its own soundtrack, including a bunch of artists I'd heard of, such as Surge, and I was just genuinely surprised about that. 3, the soundtrack's great. 4, I actually hated the game the first time I played it. And then I played it on Xbox, and I did not like it. It just felt it felt like it was fighting me the entire time. So then people were like, you should probably try it on a different platform. And I got a sponsored segment to do it. So I was like, okay, I'm literally getting paid to try this now, so I might as well just do it. And then it turns out, yeah, keyboard and mouse, absolutely the way to play that game. Because my experience with that game was night and day. It was so much better playing it with a keyboard and mouse. And I'm usually the kind of person who hates playing shooters with a keyboard and mouse. Nope, that was absolutely the way to play that game for me.
We're turning him, chat. We're turning him.
Don't try. I still play Fortnite with a controller. Nice try.
Do you?
So do I. So do I. Controller for life.
Ugh, controllers.
Yeah, no, so like this one's kind of on here doubly because one, it felt like it came out of nowhere and was just like a pleasant surprise, and two, like I literally did not like it and then found out, yeah, no, I just played it wrong. It was the rare case of like you played it wrong, but playing it the right way actually was correct. The right way for me was that. So yeah,
Sure,
that's how I got on my list.
Nice.
Cool. Again, I'll just give a shout out. Dwarf Fortress coming out, good for them. That thing is actually a game now, and it's not just ASCII art, so that's really, really cool. That was surprising that came out, was a big surprise. That's probably going to be on the 2022 Game of the Year next year for me, because I need to dive hundreds of hours into that at some point. Bloodborne,
good luck with that.
Bloodborne PSX.
Right. I was like, wait, 7 years ago. But yeah, you're right.
That thing just kind of came out of nowhere. Just a fun indie, like, PlayStation demake of that game that I think gets it right, and like how that game probably should be, or how it would look on the PlayStation and how it moves and stuff. Down to there's a wobble programmed in for like the weird old PlayStation like wobble sound for the music and everything. That thing's just super cool, and I love.
Are they working on a kart racer now?
I think so, yeah. That was a meme,
they were working on that at the same time, yeah.
It was a meme, and then they're like, yeah, no, we're working on that, because why not?
Yeah.
It was crazy coming off of 150 hours of real Bloodborne and then playing that. It's just like, oh no, this is different. Like, it's starting to change. What is this place? There wasn't a, like, lamp here? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, and there's, like, enough different in there that it isn't just like, oh, yeah, I recognize this exactly. You're still kind of, like, having to look around a little bit because it's different enough, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that thing's awesome.
Silver medal for me. I was going to keep this really close to the chest, reveal it late in the show. It was like, what? He played this? He liked it? High on Life, recent release.
Well, I've been seeing you on my friends list playing this for like a week.
Yeah, okay. I think it's funny. Sorry. Like, I enjoy a lot of these gags.
I think it's funny.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah, I've been really digging a lot about that. I'll elaborate on it later, but it actually cracked the big list.
Okay.
So I like Solar Opposites. I like Rick and Morty. They made a video game for me. It didn't debut well at trade shows. I felt like, or I was hearing Jeff Gerstmann talk shit on it as it was being revealed at
tracks.
Like Jeff Keighley or whatever was like, hey, look at this at like Gamescom. I was like, oh, so bad first impression, low Metascore, but then it's like, oh, I just kind of like it. I just like it.
I think it broke the record for Game Pass players in like the first week. It's now like the #1.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't hear that.
Yeah. So it's,
taking the sting out of the purchase price, like that definitely helped ease all of that. It's just like, oh, I'll definitely try this out, and then I like it. It was a nice surprise. So that's
gotta ask though. Near the beginning of the game, did you kill the kid or not?
First time through, I did not kill the kid. I've completed 2 playthroughs now.
You went back to kill that kid. You made sure he learned.
I killed that kid. I totally did.
It's pretty funny when you kill the kid.
It's pretty good when you kill the kid. I was like, oh, there's an achievement for it. It's true. Fallout does not let you do that. It's actually
that's the name
accurate,
of the achievement.
So. Yeah.
My second place goes to Marvel Snap. This kind of came out of nowhere and is like unreasonably good in how tightly it's designed. I was kind of like card game, like we're like a trading card game, building your own deck. I was kind of tired of that a bit. It's such a big sink to do it, but this one was just simple enough, and the way that they changed the play fields, and that's kind of the main variable in there, is really smart and leads to a lot of fun stuff, to the point where like I made multiple decks and I never do that. It was pretty crazy how it just like got its hooks in me pretty immediately. I will say though, the seasons lasting just a month is absurd. That is crazy, and there's no way I'm paying $10 for a month-long battle pass. But either way, like so I've actually put no money in Marvel Snap, so I'm the real winner here. But yeah, that was quite surprising to me.
That's one of the ones I deleted because I knew that you would probably talk about it. So I was like, yeah, that's gonna get its moment. It's fine. The community #2 was Pokemon Scarlet and Violet.
I told you. I fucking told you.
Okay. Is it a bad surprise though?
I don't know.
Oh no, this isn't what I wanted.
Because disappointing is like the bad surprise.
Great.
I'm telling you, man, they're like both Pokemon games are on the Game of the Year list for.
Oh, I'm sure
They
for the
probably
community.
are.
If they're not, I'll be stunned. All right, my number one surprise of the year. I have a feeling it's probably on someone else's too. Trombone Champ.
Oh, okay.
Oh, never mind. I guess I am the only one then. I haven't like. It feels like it's been a while since there's been like a hero style rhythm game. Just kind of something that focused on one instrument. The trombone being the instrument of choice is just really funny.
Most heroic of instruments. Yes.
Yeah, it's just really funny to just hear all these songs done in trombones. The modding community has had a field day with this game. Shout out to the One-Winged Angel video where they literally have Sephiroth impale someone with a trombone, and the shot-for-shot recreation of Take On Me, including the drawing segments. It's just incredible. Like, this game will live on way longer because the community is just going wild with it. But like, it's just it has a weird amount of depth to it because of like all the trombone points or whatever you need to unlock the actual meta story. Like, genuinely surprised by that game.
Oh, so
like,
you got the
honestly,
true ending and stuff, and like the final boss fight and all that, like the final song or whatever. You did all that?
Yeah. I have not done all of that, so even that is still a surprise to me. But I've
You
heard
should do it.
some of it's ridiculous. Yeah, I've heard some of it's absolutely ridiculous.
It's so good. Yeah. Man, that should have been on my list for this. You're right. That was good. My number one was Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Just, I thought that was a re-release, and that was a whole new bunch of stuff that was awesome.
That's the definition of surprise. Like, that's the whole point of that thing. Yeah, that was pleasantly surprising.
Yeah.
I feel bad because it didn't make my surprise list because I knew they had told us that they were adding new stuff. So, but apparently I was like the only one when we did the Patreon one that remembered that
or paid attention. Yeah, because I didn't.
Apparently.
Gold medal for me is Arcade Paradise. I had no knowledge of that thing until I was watching a big video of it. It's like, oh, you run a laundromat, but there's an arcade, and like something about games within games is just one of my favorite things. Like, since I played Day of the Tentacle and it had Maniac Mansion in it, it's like, it's genius. So the idea of like, oh, I'm gonna play like solitaire in my office in my arcade is just like, this is great. I love this. So many little things. There's some terrible games in there, but that sort of felt true too. Of just like, yeah, there's some total dog shit games that came out. You put a quarter in there and you're just bummed out at the bus depot or whatever. Like, that has happened to me. So it had just like a charm all over it, with just like the nostalgia, like retro aesthetic and the weird music in that game and everything. It just really pulled me in for a long time. So I like it. I thought it was really, really good.
So you like games within games. How do you feel about movies within games?
I love movies within games.
Oh, that makes sense.
And you like High on Life a bit.
Go figure.
How many movies have you watched?
I have watched 2 full movies. I was running into technical issues with like it going black screen after the first commercial break. I think because I was opening a portal out and then sitting down to watch Tiny Tim as a crazy clown. And it's like, no, you have like a foot out the door already. You've told the game I'm not interested or something, I think is what's happening.
I did the movie theater one. What's the name of that movie?
Demon Wind, which is with commentary by Red Letter Media or whatever.
Yes.
That was pretty fun. I definitely left that on too.
A bad like
Evil
spoof.
Dead ripoff. Yeah.
That movie sucks. But
pretty bad.
I sat there and watched an hour and a half of that movie inside the game.
Blood Harvest, I was like, I have to see this. I had no idea Tiny Tim was in a movie. This should never have happened. And then I had to watch that. So
I've seen Tammy and the T-Rex in real life before. So
I have in real life also.
Wait, are all these movies actually in the game?
There are 4 full movies in that video.
You might have actually started selling me on High on Life here now.
And like Nathan said, one of them, they had the Red Letter Media guys do a full commentary track on
That's what kind of got my interest. I'm like, oh man, I love Red Letter Media.
Yep.
Yeah.
The movie
it's super weird watching the movies on the couch because, like, depending who's there, like, you'll get a little bit from the character Jean, and Laura Silverman will talk occasionally too if she's there. But it's like, oh, you kind of got a time when you're sitting down to watch this bad movie for maximum comments. It's weird. But
we'll also
I love
say,
that's the thing.
At least for the movie theater one, the audio mixing sucks.
Kind of sucks. Yeah, I was like, do I have to sit closer to these guys? I can't even hear it.
They're quiet, or sometimes the movie's too loud. Also, I think the commentary is not in sync with the movie at sometimes. Like, they were like ahead by just a bit. So yeah, it's not great, but it is a thing you can do.
In concept, great. So yeah. But yeah, surprises.
My biggest surprise of the year was Vampire Survivors.
Sure.
I think I'd heard too much before I played it. Is what happened to me, because it was great. Yeah.
I don't even really know what to say. Like, this thing kind of came out of nowhere, and it's one of the biggest games of the whole year. It's just so well designed. They just keep designing on it. It's pocket change in price. Like, every part of it is just like, it is. I think what's so surprising is how fun it is on such a simple concept, and like how much replayability you can really, like, you can just lose hours into this thing.
Definitely.
That's my biggest surprise.
And the community's biggest surprise by a landslide, not even close, almost double the second there, is Sonic Frontiers.
Oh.
Not surprised.
All right. Next category is audio of the year. This can be audio design. This can be music. If it makes a sound, you can incorporate that.
Okay.
Let's go through that, John.
All right. I have 4 here. Special shout out to Trombone Champ.
Yep.
Because again, they took all those songs and did them with the trombone, especially ones that do not usually go like that, which was just great. But my actual number 3 is River City Girls 2.
Okay.
I have like my guilty pleasure is kind of like pop music, like girly pop music, and like that soundtrack is just kind of all that, and it's like really well done. And the first game soundtrack was that, but they brought back the first game soundtrack and added a bunch of really strong tracks to go with it. Like the opening theme song is great. Like the first pre-boss fight theme, the actual like reference songs to like older games such as River City Ransom and stuff like that, it just really, really sounds great. So like between the pop music, between the like the old remixes, and just like in general, solid soundtrack.
Yeah, that's a great one. My number 3 was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, because it reminds me of my childhood in like every way. It's just perfect in how it sounds.
I think bronze medal for me here is going to be Arcade Paradise, mostly for all the music on the jukebox and stuff, or just ambiently playing. It's like they wrote a bunch of songs that are kind of reminding you of things like, what is that? Oh, it'd be like Kid Rock is playing or something, but you're like, wait, if you listen to it, it's not at all. It can't be, but it's kind of like supposed to be mid 90s. What is that? I'm trying to think of this one rap group that was
2 Live Crew.
No,
Eminem.
No, sorry. I should have mentally prepared better. No, whatever. It's just a nice milieu of weird nonsense. There's kind of fake Eurobeat dance stuff in there too. You will hear some of these way too much though if you're trying to get all the achievements on like the fake Dance Dance Revolution game. But it didn't drive me insane. So yeah, it was still generally good. But I guess that's why it's 3rd place, not 1st place. I will remember in like 5 minutes, and it'll be useless. Yeah.
My number 3 is Pokemon Violet.
Okay. Yeah.
One of the first Pokemons in a long time where I've actually looked up some of the songs on YouTube, just to like listen to them. Shout out to the Star Grunt battle theme. That thing slaps. Holy smokes! I'm about to put that on my phone so I can listen to it more often. Arguably the best aspect of that game.
All right.
That's not the one that Toby Fox did, that track, right? Because I think he did the raid theme.
I thought he did like the overworld music.
He did a bunch.
Okay.
Apparently.
I don't know. I tried looking it up and I couldn't find a definitive answer. I was getting a lot of like news articles announcing that he's working on the track, and that was kind of muddying the search results. So I'm not sure.
Number 3 for community was Splatoon 3.
I'm surprised. I felt like a little
music.
Yeah, but I felt a little disappointed in this one because I felt like 2's they had put so much into it. It felt like if stuff was missing. But I guess the 3 will be like they'll catch up eventually.
Yeah.
My number 2, which was already mentioned, Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. solid soundtrack. Like the game music itself is great. Just the couple of artists they got in there, like Mega Ran and stuff like that, just did great jobs. Did T. Lopez do the soundtrack? I forget. I think he was on this.
I don't know. Ghostface Killer's in there.
Yeah, and Raekwon.
Yeah, no, a bunch of surprise artists were on there,
Yeah.
and they just did a bunch of great stuff.
It's
So,
fantastic.
solid ass soundtrack for sure.
My number 2 was also mentioned, and it was Trombone Champ.
There we go, baby.
Man, that game is so good for like all the reasons you said. Holy crap, it's so good.
Now that the cat's out of the bag, I will put it at number 2. High on Life. I love hearing that guy talk. Put that gun on frequent. Just talk to me all game.
What's your go-to gun or comedian, I should say?
Oh man, I definitely played more with Creature on playthrough 2, and that gun's actually good too. Like have you gotten Tim? I think it's Tim Davidson.
Tim Robinson?
Tim, yeah, sure.
No, I haven't gotten that one yet. No.
Okay, yeah, he's pretty good. But Kenny's out there a lot. I'm hearing Justin Roiland everywhere I go because he's also like additional voices on almost every TV show. But
right, yeah,
I'm okay with that. I am not mad at that at all. So yeah, that was a positive audio experience for me. And Tobacco did music in it, which is also great.
My number 2 is Citizen Sleeper.
Yeah.
This is definitely on the like chill lo-fi. I wouldn't like listen to this kind of on its own, but it's just perfect for like the ambience, and you're on this like desolate space station in space, and everything kind of sucks there, and it's the music just like fits it perfectly, and it's just like such a vibe. Like when I think back of like playing this kind of late at night with the lights down, and just it's the music really helps that game.
Community's number 2 was Kirby and the Forgotten Land for best audio.
I will say that did have some pretty good music, so I'll agree with that one.
It was good.
All right, my number 1, which I have a feeling is also Paul's, is Metal Hellsinger.
Yeah, there it is.
There we go. We were in sync on this one pretty much. Just
Our
like I
list is
said,
the exact same. It's a different spot.
Metal Hellsinger, fantastic soundtrack, great vocals, just great beats. Just like it works great with the combat of the game. It builds up when you're doing great. It makes you feel awesome when you're doing good.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel like you need to try harder when you're doing bad. Just awesome. Just fantastic to hear. Like I'm glad they went and made their own unique soundtrack for it. It's like it's stuff uniquely made for the game, and it sounds really good. So really
And it
recommend
doesn't-
it if you like heavy metal music.
It doesn't get hit either for like internet stuff, so it's just a great alternative for just like I need something to play while I go grab water or something. Let's listen to Surge again.
I still have to listen to that track. I haven't gotten to that one. I stopped early.
Yeah, that track is where that track happens is fantastic. I think you'll really like that part.
Yeah.
Nathan, it's you. That was
Oh my
both
gosh,
of us.
sorry.
We both had the same game.
Yeah.
Oh, right. So this was the entry point to this series for me, so that might have gotten a boost over the previous ones. I really dug the music in Splatoon 3 because I'd never played previous Splatoon, so
Oh, wow,
it
okay.
just kind of brought me into that whole crazy like vibe they have going on in that game.
Yeah.
So I was really happy with it. I went back, played the first game. It's like, oh, there's some of this here, but it's it was my introduction, so I was really, really happy. If anything's wrong with it though, there's like a super awesome song in like the tutorial levels, and you can never go back to the tutorial levels.
You
ever.
said this when the game came out or whatever, and
Yeah.
since then I hadn't played the single player stuff. I have played it since, and when that track played, I'm like, this has to be it because this is fucking awesome.
You can't revisit it. Like I went back through every level in like the single player. It's like, where's that song? It's like, no, it was only in the intro, and you'd have to start a new game entirely to ever see it again. It's like that's weird. Sucks.
What a bummer.
So yeah. But yeah, like I kind of looked into it a little bit. There's like 6 composers on this game. One of them though does have like rhythm heaven ties, so like I'm attributing some of what I'm really digging to that. But who knows? It's a great collaboration anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I hope they bring back some of the bands they made for Splatoon 2, because like they had like bluegrass, they had chiptune, they had techno,
Okay.
they hit all these crazy genres, and that's the thing that's why 3 didn't hit my list, was because like 2 spoiled me too much. I
Mhm.
love 2 soundtrack way too much to be like 3. You got to catch up, man. Come on.
Okay. I didn't have that context, so yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm glad you mentioned Rhythm Heaven, because my favorite audio of the year is Melatonin.
Had a
Nice.
feeling.
This is Rhythm Heaven. This is the latest Rhythm Heaven game. It's pretty much in the Rhythm Heaven franchise. If you like Rhythm Heaven, you need to play Melatonin, because they just stole that whole game. It's really good. I mean, I would love to, it looks great. Like, there's more to this game that's great than just the audio, but the music is quite good too. And they do the great thing of, at the end of the stage, all the stages in that world get mixed together into a final song for you to combat, and that's fantastic. And you have to, each stage you have to do a practice one, then like then a regular, then a hard, and each of those build the song further, and they'll like speed up tracks, and it still sounds great. Like, the music is awesome.
Nice. Community number 1 was Xenoblade Chronicles 3 by a landslide.
Not surprised.
All right, and the rap group I couldn't remember was Cypress Hill.
Oh, Cypress Hill.
Insane in the Membrane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah, couldn't find it. All right.
Our next category is our newest category, debuting this year, is Cozy or Wholesome Game of the Year. This is a game that's just, you can chill out with. It's not very stressful. It's a game maybe you play at night or in bed, something like that. It's a warm blanket to play or come back to.
Well, then my number 3 is going to be really stupid.
Trombone champ.
My number 3, no, that's on the list though. My number 3 for Wholesome Game of the Year, Ultra Kaiju Monster Rancher.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So my logic was like, yo, let's take something that usually like is going around destroying stuff constantly, like giant monsters, and let's just give them the most wholesome thing. Now they like have to water fields so they don't like run out of food. Now they have to like stop disasters. Now they have to just fight each other for fun and amusement, and you just take care of them. It's just weird taking like this thing that I always loved so much about Ultraman and Godzilla and all those, and just like these monsters that just fight and wreck things, to be like, yeah, now we just kind of have them. We just raise them now. We're friends with them.
Did you watch Shin Ultraman? That came out this year?
Shin Ultraman. No, I'm behind on Ultraman, but I got this year for my birthday and Christmas like the Ultraman Blu-ray sets. So I've got
Sick.
like Ultra Q, Ultraman, Ultraman Ace, and a bunch of other stuff to watch through.
Nice. Wholesome. Okay. Shout out to Poinpy, but Tinykin was my number 3.
Okay.
Right on,
I played a little bit of that, and it seemed wholesome, but I didn't see enough of it. So
Fair enough.
Great game. Real good.
Yeah, it was one of our TDP Plus games.
Yeah.
My whole thing, it was sold to me by it being like, this is what the hell is that series called? This is Pikmin, but like it'll be on PC, so I'll try it out or whatever. And it's more platformy, more moving around, because I don't like Pikmin at all. So this one clicked with me. It's like, oh, this is if I like Pikmin. I get it now. Yeah, it was super fun. Annoying parts, but like I never was so annoyed that I was like, oh, this is ruined for me, or like I was unchill. I was chill the whole time.
Running around like as a soap bar surfing, that's just great. And it feels good. Yeah.
It's wholesome.
wholesome. My wholesome number 3 was Return to Monkey Island. I thought the framing narrative of Guybrush telling his kid tales is kind of just a cute way to introduce that.
Yeah.
Just, nice, vibrant art style, and just kind of throwback to that, kind of reflecting on the whole series.
Hanging out with your old friends.
Yeah. It had a very kind of warm, fuzzy vibe to it. So, yeah. Despite some crazy things Guybrush gets up to, but they at least sort of address that in the final act. Just like, that was screwed up what you did. And it's like, yeah, it was. But I'll get into that in a little bit.
Spoilers.
It may have cracked the top 10.
Maybe.
My number 3 wholesome game of the year is Citizen Sleeper. Kind of touched on it with the audio, but it's a visual novel. That genre is basically cozy for the most part, just from the nature of it. But yeah, the art style is great, the music's great, the characters are fantastic, and the stories are so well written and touching and sad and at times. But I really love kind of just being in that world, and I love that they keep putting out free DLC.
All right, cozy game for community. Sorry, number 3 was Stray.
Sure,
Okay.
yeah,
I could see that. Yeah, sure.
yeah.
Well, we joked about it earlier, but Trombone Champs is my number 2.
That's fair.
Yeah. It just feels like you're like a kid who's just getting into like an instrument. You're just like, it's your first time, you're learning, you're going to lessons, and now you got to go do the national anthem. This is the game that kind of gave me high school vibes, despite not even like playing the trombone growing up. I was a saxophone player, but like there's just something about it that just what?
You're one of those ones.
Yeah, I was a band kid. So yeah, it just gave me like vibes of like growing up and just like learning instruments and stuff like that, and that's just like that felt really cozy and wholesome to me. So
sure, yeah, man, that game, I should have considered that game for more things, because yeah, that game was fantastic. Honestly, it's really good. My number 2 was Cult of the Lamb. That game was just super fun, and I really just liked the like integration to get your friends in on there as your like cult people or whatever, and just I don't know, it was like a more basic. I love
sacrificing my friends.
Yeah, super cozy.
Cult's notoriously cozy. Yep.
And it was just like, it's that style, that aesthetic of like really cute but like dark and morbid and twisted, which is like perfect for me. I love that shit so much.
Sure.
I guess I agree with the community. I put Stray at number 2.
Okay.
Like I know that game has some weird like more aggro stuff than it should, maybe with like monsters and running around in stealth and whatever. But there's times where you get to just curl up with a robot that's playing guitar, and that's nice, and just find a pillow somewhere or scratch a tree. And then kind of some extracurricular stuff too, of just like making the game meow, and then my cat kind of goes, "What the hell is happening?" in my room. So it was fun to try to mess with him a little bit via video game. So yeah, like way more robots than I thought, but I kind of like robots also. Maybe just with Daft Punk breaking up, it's like I'm also wanting this a lot. So this is
I can feel you on that.
Yeah.
My number 2 is the Frog Detective trilogy.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Because the third game dropped this year, and then they released it kind of as a trilogy on everything. Frog Detective is some of like the best comedy writing I've experienced in a game, in just how like dry and simple it is, but how effective it is. The designers like know exactly what they're doing, and each game gets better and better, and they do callbacks to the other ones that are pretty funny. I'd say each one is like 45 minutes to an hour, so try and play them all as close together as you can. But it's so nice just being this happy little frog. In the third game, you get a scooter, so that's cool, and you can just scooter around. And yeah, it's all the characters are funny and silly, and the stuff that's going on, they're like no one's actually in peril, but it's like, oh man, someone ruined the party. We need the frog detective here. And it is so wholesome, and I think it's extremely funny, and I had such a good time with that trilogy.
Nice. The community's number 2 was Pokemon Scarlet/Violet.
All right.
Super wholesome.
Yeah.
Told you. Yep. All right, my number 1 for wholesome and cozy game of the year, Kirby's Dream Buffet. Because honestly, just rolling around in just a giant pile of desserts that just look really tasty the whole time. It's nice feeling.
That game was fun. Yep.
Yeah. For what it was just like a little small mini game thing. Just like a fun little thing to bust out every now and then. Just drive around some food.
I wish that thing was free so that I could just like force all of my friends to like, just download it and let's play together. Like,
yeah, as a free game, I think it would have done pretty good, but that would require them actually like putting more content in. I feel.
For sure.
But yeah.
Yeah. My number one was Power Wash Simulator. Just
Yeah.
spent a lot of time just putting on some music or a podcast, and like after a long day, just literally power washing something while I listen to people talk about something. And then when that's done, it's like the
I did that.
The work bell going off. It's like, oh, job's done. I guess I'm going to bed now or whatever. Just super fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, maybe not fun. Cozy. It is cozier than it is fun, I would say.
I mean, there is something like very pleasing about just like
satisfying,
satisfying about like removing a whole bunch of mud in the exact shape of the spray. Like that just feels good.
Yeah, it's true. It did get to be a little bit much when it's like clean this like ancient Aztec temple or something. It's like, oh, this is going to take me like an actual week of real time work. But I did it.
Be like that sometimes. Yeah.
Number one for me, I guess, I think it's just because I had arcade memories baked into me when I was like 6. Went to the Castle Fun Park, then called Wonderland, outside Abbotsford, and just bonded with a bunch of games of questionable quality. So Arcade Paradise gave me the chance to work there in a way and just kind of really immerse myself in that. And you also have a laundromat, which is kind of fun for a bit, but you're glad you're getting rid of it. But yeah, just the patterns of the carpets, the kind of whole vibe of that game was very nostalgic and cozy in a way that I liked. So yeah, time machine a bit back to simpler times, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty sharp. So yeah, and you can play solitaire in it, which was also.
There you go.
Oh, that's how you could have got it on the Game of the Year list.
Yeah, I figured a way.
My cozy game of the year is A Little to the Left.
No.
This is basically just an organization game. They give you a nicely drawn mess of stuff, and you have to figure out how can I organize these. The stages often have multiple solutions, so it might not just be like the tallest book to the smallest book. Maybe the spines of the book need to all match in some kind of way, or you need to put all the colors together. The music is nice, the audio design is nice, some great sound effects when you succeed and you get the stars and whatnot. And every now and then your cat will come in and just mess up what you were doing, so you got to shoo the cat's paw away so that you can get back to organizing all the postcards. If you're a fan of unpacking, this will probably hit a lot of the same kind of nerves that were tickled in the last year. So that's A Little to the Left.
Cool. And the number one for the community was Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Yeah, not surprised on that.
Makes sense. All right, this next one, I don't think Nathan will have a list, but this is the Patreon game of the year, where we pick our top 3 games that you guys paid for us to play.
Oh yeah, I can't wait on this. Okay.
You're welcome to if you somehow do have a list.
There is a list in the chat here, for what it's worth, that John posted a bit ago.
Oh, okay.
Post here again for you, Nathan, if you want. Here, there's a list right there. And for listeners and viewers, the actual 12 games we are choosing, which we did for Patreon, December 2021, because we usually do the game of the year in December.
Yeah.
Balan Wonderworld. January, Neo: The World Ends With You. February, Kena Bridge of Spirits. March, WarioWare Gold. April, F-Zero X. May, The Secret of Monkey Island. June, The Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. July, Neon White. August, Klonoa Fantasy Reverie Series. September, Tinykin. October, Splatoon 3. And November was Shovel Knight Dig.
John, what's your third favorite game that someone paid you to play?
All right, so I will clarify that some of these I missed and was not on for those shows, so my list is keeping that in mind. So out of the shows I was on for, my number 3 for Patreon Game of the Year was F-Zero X for the N64. Game I grew up with, loved, absolutely loved. I've always loved F-Zero, and that's one of the best entries in the series. Just it brings up nostalgia. It feels so tight. It goes shockingly fast for the N64 of all systems. Just a genuinely fun game.
Agreed. My number 3 was Neo: The World Ends With You. I just really like that thing in a way that I don't necessarily think I was expecting. I just wish I had put a little bit more into it, but it's one of those games where it's quite long.
It's an RPG. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what I played, I actually really enjoyed quite a bit.
All right, Nathan, from this list, what's your third favorite game?
Number 3, Secret of Monkey Island. It's a good one. Did you play it with the voice acting or
I did.
the old original? Okay.
I did the voice acting, yeah.
Voice acting, yeah.
Okay.
My number 3 is WarioWare Gold, a game that I just skipped because it was on an old handheld that I had abandoned to the closet. But it's one of the best WarioWares, far superior to the most recent WarioWare.
What?
I mean, I will agree with him on that. But like, it's almost cheating because Gold was basically a greatest hits version.
It was, yeah.
And I have the community responses that the patrons, this is just the patron community was allowed to vote on. This was, number 3 was a tie between Splatoon 3 and Neo The World Ends With You.
Good choices.
Yep.
My number 2, Klonoa Fantasy Revelry series. I
Nice.
love the Klonoa series. So just finding out we actually got a remake after I don't know how many years. And in the case of like Klonoa 2, like a re-release, since there has not been one for that period, it's just really nice. So it's just a nice, cozy puzzle platforming series that gets weirdly dark at times. It's just like a fun counterbalance to Kirby. I guess for as much as Kirby and Forgotten Land disappointed me, this like filled me back up. This gave me the energy I wanted from Kirby.
Cool. My number 2 was Balan Wonderworld. That game is interesting. More importantly, the weird rabbit hole of information about what that game went through design-wise, development-wise, the lore behind it, and the talk we had about it, that was like prime podcasting material. That was so fun to dive into, just how fucking weird that thing was and like discuss it.
Now the guy that worked on it's in jail, so stuff's even more complicated and interesting.
News keeps breaking. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll go WarioWare Gold for number 2. It's a lot of good stuff in there. It's no Rhythm Heaven Gold though, but it couldn't be. So
Rhythm Heaven Fever, I think, is the one you're talking about, right?
Oh, is that the Mega Mix or whatever? Yeah. Okay.
You're right.
I think it's actually called Mega Mix on the 3DS. If that's
was it Mega Mix? About. Okay, maybe I'm mistaken.
Fever is the Wii one.
That's a great one though. I played a lot of that one. We are overdue for a Rhythm Heaven game. Let me tell you about Melatonin.
Okay.
Knew it.
My number 2 Patreon game is Tinykin.
Sure.
All kind of talked about it earlier. I mean, I like Pikmin. This is a Pikmin platformer, so I kind of just like it a bit more than the like adventure game Pikmin.
Oh, you're out of time. Got to go back to the spaceship. Oh, they all died. Yeah. Yeah.
Or just kind of the like
this year.
Yeah. Riding around on that soap, riding the soap on the strings. Like, there's just so many nice movement mechanics in there.
Mm-hmm.
The art style is real fun. It's a very well designed game for sure. And the number 2 patron selected patron game of the year is F-Zero X.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. My number 1 should not surprise anyone. Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, because that first game was incredible.
Yeah.
The first game is incredible, and then the extra content honestly complements it really well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it gave me an opportunity to revisit that game, too. Like that, yeah, I'm with you. That was easily the number 1 for me. I
like that it's also a meta-analysis of the game itself, which is wild, too. It's just like, yeah, it's been like 6-7 years since the last game, so like, here's everything.
They
with
did
everything
it again
else.
somehow? Like, yeah, crazy.
It is a really.
It wasn't even like the original team. It was like a new group that did like the extra content, and it somehow still felt organic. It was insane.
It's a very interesting way of like, the first game was such a specific like meta narrative on video games, and it's like, well, how do you make a sequel to that without just adding more jokes and like from like if you're interested in like game design almost, this is like a good academic exercise to go through is like playing this.
Yeah,
that bucket, absolutely. Man, it's just so reassuring. Splatoon 3, I guess, because it got me to like Paul and I to sync up and actually play Switch online, which has like never happened.
Nice.
So yeah, Monster Hunter couldn't do it. It was Splatoon 3. That was the secret sauce I needed. So I don't know. I'll talk more about it later.
Okay.
My number
Spoilers.
my number one is Neon White.
Oh yeah, sure.
This game is so fun to play through. There's 100 levels. I could have played more. And I guess I did. I played a bunch of the side quests. Do yourself a favor. Don't read a single thing in that game. Every time
really?
a character
I did
speaks,
all of it.
every time a character speaks, the game gets worse, unfortunately. So that story is
not
terrible.
written good. Yeah.
Yeah, it is surprisingly how bad that story is. But the gameplay is extremely enjoyable.
Yeah, that's side content. Like, why? Just give me the levels. You don't need to have some dumb story that I don't care about. And the side content is the worst part of that writing by far. The story at least kind of has a cohesive narrative they're going through, even though it's not great. But that side stuff is bad.
You don't want to spend time with any of those characters. None of them are enjoyable. And
They're all
just
shitty.
Cringy.
Yeah.
It's so cringy. It's weird. All right, the number one patron selected game proves the majority of our patrons have no taste whatsoever because it is Balan Wonderworld.
No, it means that was a good
You're going off the
podcast, which is what they
episode,
pay for.
Maybe hoping so, but I'm hoping it was a good episode and they're voting for that as opposed to the game itself. So
It was a good episode. I agree. Good answer. Good answer.
All right.
Answer.
Since we've now passed the 1 hour and 30-minute mark, it is time to talk about our favorite games of the year.
Yay!
This, unlike the other categories, we will each have 10 games to get through. So
Except for Paul, who has 45.
Wait, what?
Apparently.
No, I have 10 this time. I mean, I could talk about 45. I have a list.
We have honorable mentions.
That
for
Steam
that
replay
exact
thing was cool, huh? It was
reason.
just kind of, hey, you played so much. Look at this. But yeah, let's not read them online.
So each of us will go through our favorite games that came out. Once again, John starting us off.
Wait, do honorable mentions come first
After.
or not?
After.
So
Oh,
it doesn't
weird.
spoil what didn't make our list.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right, and I do believe, just to clarify this, Sean, the community also has made guesses on what our top game is going to be.
Oh yeah, we usually do that right before number one, right?
I'm just making sure that that's because I can remember if they did all of our steps or they just did the end step.
They just did the number one.
Okay. All right, and obviously the community has a top 10 list we're going to go through as well.
Yeah,
All right,
so I
my
guess
number 10.
I'll just kind of reiterate that for the listeners. The community has a top 10 list. They also have an additional category where they were trying to guess each of our number one game of the year. Nathan, unfortunately, we forgot that you were joining and we put the survey out ahead of time.
That's fine. Yeah.
People in the chat can guess, and then
people in the chat are welcome to guess what they think Nathan's number one. Once we have all set our number two game of the year, we will reveal what the community thought our games of the year were, and then we will reveal our games of the year.
Yeah, right.
And I believe also last year we even guessed what our own game of the years was going to be. So it'll be interesting going back to see how that panned out.
We did guess for next year, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, my number 10 to kick off the lists, Sonic Frontiers.
This was my number 10 for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. This one
Before
danced
it
around
called
my
up.
list a bit as well too. I was genuinely surprised at this. I didn't think open world Sonic was going to work, and honestly, it's still got some quirks to it, but it is generally enjoyable running around that world and kind of hunting down stuff. It's just fun traversing it. It's just fun figuring out stuff. It's just you get this nice flow. It's a great flow game where you can just zone out and just kind of run around and do stuff. It's the same reason I like stuff like Breath of the Wild, some of those open world games. It's just fun to just zone out and just do things. It just has a good feel to it. Now it still has Sonic quirks, which can kind of get in the way, but for the most part, just genuinely enjoyed my time playing it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think it's the moving around that world is the funnest part, which is usually not for me the funnest part of an open world thing.
Yeah.
The exploration in an open world thing, it's always I want to explore stuff, but kind of moving around sometimes feels shitty, or okay at best. In Sonic, that was the thing I wanted to do, was move around that world, and having to stop and do things was kind of the shitty part for me. So it was interesting. You know what? That's a number 10.5 or 11 for me as well. It's in there somewhere. What pushed it off was people were talking about it. I'm like, you know what? That's probably on there somewhere on my list. So it's my number 10. I played a lot of Wordle this year. Every day I was logging in and doing a Wordle puzzle. I was doing a Wordle puzzle with like friends and my girlfriend and my parents, and like just talking about that. That kind of just encapsulated my whole year in gaming in a weird way that games don't usually do in like my normal everyday life. So it had to be somewhere on here.
Nice.
Number 10 for me was Return to Monkey Island. I did like it, but I finished it up yesterday, and something about how it plays its ending I wasn't thrilled with. And I think Thimbleweed Park kind of scratched this itch for me a little better a few years ago. Ron Gilbert's Return to the Forum or whatever. It felt like a cousin to Maniac Mansion, which I hold dearer, I guess. But still charming, still fun. Kind of all of Guybrush's misdeeds over the course of it. Like for a while there, it seemed like they were paying off. Like Elaine's on the trail, and just like, you did what? Like a blonde pirate did what? That's horrible. Like he just leaves this guy in a cave. Stuff like this over the course of it. And then it's like, yeah, I had to teleport out of there. I don't know. I couldn't help him. They sort of start to tie all that in, and then there's sort of this weird like, it was a puzzle room or something. Like it had a weird not ending. Which I guess was on purpose. It's sort of reflecting on how do you make a sequel or something, but it just didn't quite land 100%.
I feel like, because I know that's not the first Monkey Island game that has that exact same issue. From what I remember, the ending of the second Monkey Island game is kind of like that as well.
Kind of a joke. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I think it's just a Ron Gilbert thing.
I think he thinks it's really funny or something. I don't know. I kind of just... The secret is sort of better as like a locked box, like something you never find or whatever. Like there's reasons to do that, but it was like, oh, this is actually pretty great. It did have this thing though too. I didn't get into this. I played it a bunch, like when it first came out, played like 7 hours of it, and then I kind of fell off because it opens in this weird way. Like it sort of like reminded me of the end of Wind Waker, where it's like, now go to all these other places and there's all these other things to do. It kind of overwhelmed me with like that weird shape to the narrative. I was kind of feeling it was concluding, and then it opened again, and I wasn't prepared for a bunch more puzzles or something. So it took another session or two to get back into the groove. Great robust hint system though, that really helped me remind me what was going on, because I forgot a bunch of stuff. That I believe is sort of born out of Thimbleweed had that as well. But that game I wanted to preserve the like struggle of the puzzles. This I was kind of more, all right, what's going on? Who wants what? Where? So yeah, I kind of fell off the rhythm a bit. But still good. Still a solid one. So yeah.
My number 10 is Card Shark. This is it's not a card.
Yeah.
That was this year. It's not a card game. It is a game about cheating at card games. It's kind of WarioWare-like, but more like strategic, and the mini games are kind of more just like learning specific button inputs as opposed to, I don't know, like a weird platformer that WarioWare might be. I think the art style is really great. I think that the story is pretty interesting, and the way you navigate through the game is kind of open-ended, so you can have like a lot of fun, and you learn a lot of fun little tricks, and it's silly, and it's just really unique. I don't think there's much like it, so it really stands out for me. I believe it's also the Reigns people, and I really like Reigns, so that's just a cool dev team.
Yeah, for sure. The number 10 community by points is 2, 4, 6. Tunic.
All right.
Okay.
1 second, I got a bagel.
Yeah.
Come on.
Special guest Bagel joining us.
Oh, there you go.
John's number 9.
There you go. Number 9 is Bagel. My actual number 9 though is Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, like we said, not really a true new game yet. There's enough new content on there to justify it, and it's honestly like it feels like a proper good follow-up. The original jokes still hit pretty well. The meta narrative dissecting those jokes is also pretty good. There's some genuinely funny bits in there. The whole is probably my favorite bit in that game.
Also
for the
my
new
favorite
jokes.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one's really good.
Yeah.
There's just like a bunch of like great things about it. To just see that game come back and still be just as strong felt great.
Yeah.
Yep. My number 9 was the expansion for World of Warcraft Dragonflight. This was just a kind of nice return to form of a story that, like, it's kind of not a giant, like, the world is ending, fuck everything thing. They made it more casual friendly, so I can log in, do a bunch of stuff in an hour, and, like, feel like I got something out of it, and then leave, and, like, still... I could do PvP for a little bit and, like, actually just not be completely blown out because of the way they reworked things. I feel like I could do quests or dungeons or whatever. Feel like I could go in, have a good time, and still have a life in a way that, like, these expansions basically haven't in maybe ever. But, like, it's also not dumbed down to the point where it feels like I don't have a choice in my character builds or any of that stuff. I don't know. They found this, like, really nice kind of median right now where this is, like, good for people that have lives now to just get in, do a few things, and have, like, their fun and then leave, which is kind of cool. So it got me back in a way that I wasn't expecting. So that was cool.
My number 9 was also Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. So I'll just agree with a lot of what John said. And I don't know. I think it's this low just because I haven't seen everything. Like, I felt like I'm missing some gags I haven't seen. I was doing a bunch of bucket stuff today, collecting figurines, having a fun time.
Yeah.
But
Did you get
the
slideshow, like the little movie about the figurines?
Well, wait, like to introduce the concept of adding collectibles, like the sequel stuff, or is it after you get all of them? Because I haven't gotten all of them.
I think it's after.
That was the first time you get when you get the slideshow.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'm
remember.
misremembering. But there's like a
I'll
little
definitely been
shitty
trying to name
movie.
them and stuff. Yeah.
Name-
All I
Naming
remember
the
the figures
collectibles
is I
is-
fell through the floor when they were introduced and I couldn't get them.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah.
I walked
do
into
like
the room where, like, you know, like you walk in, they're like floating in midair. I walked in that room and the walkway you're supposed to walk on hadn't spawned, so I just fell to the bottom of like the star room I was in and just had to like look up and like I can't get out of here. I have to restart.
Oh, well, that's a shame.
I do love all the nicknames he gives for the collectors, like the Figlies,
The Stanulines or whatever.
Yeah.
Combines them. Figlies, yeah. They just didn't go with my balloon choice though, so that was kind of bumming me out. I chose the other one, and they're like, "Ha, psych! It's this one." So, all right. So yeah, but no, still very fun. It was a surprise. I think it was just that I heard about what it was before I played it, instead of just like, I'll revisit it and then find a bunch of stuff. That would have been the ideal circumstance.
Sure.
But yeah.
My number 9 game is Tinykin. We've talked Tinykin several times, but yes, that game is really good.
Yep. Number 9 for the community was Vampire Survivors.
Harsh.
I was expecting higher for that. Sure.
I mean, it was a big
it's-
jump from
it's
the
gonna
number 10 for what it's worth.
But there's a lot of Nintendo games this year.
And trust me, they're probably all here because I'm looking at this list. Wow. Okay.
My number 8, I knew it was gonna make the list somehow. I just wasn't sure where it was gonna land. Elden Ring.
Yay.
I actually put it on the list. The first time I've gone through a Souls game. And shockingly, probably not my last. Well, maybe a core Soul game's probably my last.
Sure.
Bloodborne.
Speaking of flow state games, exploring that world is great. That's probably one of the greatest exploring games that came out this year. Just going around, just like finding little secrets, like just finding like random fights, just finding like treasures and stuff like that. Genuinely, like a highlight of the year was doing the exploring.
Yeah.
The combat is the thing I do not like, and is what will probably keep me from playing other Souls games in the future. But just genuinely, the feeling of going around in that world was like so enjoyable. The lore drops, while they were very light, were cool. Although it really did suck because it's a Souls game. So it's like, yeah, every character you end up liking, they're gonna just have a bad time.
Yeah.
So
That's very true.
yeah, so it's not a game genre for me. but it was nice to finally say like, yeah, I've beaten the Souls game now, so I can actually say that.
Absolutely.
Awesome. My number 8 is Neon White. Just throw that story away. That gameplay is super engaging and fun, and I guess I agree with what I said before. I was saying this is like the best Sonic game I've ever played. Sonic should just be a bunch of like speed run levels or whatever. This game is fantastic. Yeah, the style is super, super cool. I really like how they mix in like the different gun mechanics and how discarding them gives you kind of another like platforming or movement device to play with, and how they build the levels around it. Yeah, that game is fantastic.
Number 8 for me is where I put Stray. I generally had a fun time. The stealth kind of kicked me off the horse for a bit there, so I didn't finish it right away. But generally just a fun, light little adventure with robots and cats and music and aesthetics, I guess. What was the read on that game here? Was it just a bummer? Did anyone else like it?
Stray?
I think I think it's good. But
okay.
I don't have a strong
fine
opinion.
with it. I'm not as positive on it as like the internet was like weirdly high on that game.
Yeah, it seemed to enjoy a real moment in the sun. It being like a Game of the Year nominee at the big award show is kind of like, I guess, like it's fun, but
I think the best part of that game is like those like hubs where you can kind of go out and explore around. I think that's
that first area where I was just collecting records and bringing them back to this guy. I was like, this is fun. Like this is just a nice light little thing, and just like I guess that environment was kind of based on a real place, like the super stacked city or whatever. Like it definitely had an interesting look to it. I wouldn't even call it a platformer because you're just kind of pressing A near ledges. It's like Uncharted or something, where it's very rigid what you can do. But in general, I just like looking at it and hanging out with it. It was pretty good. So yeah, and it ended okay, I guess. There was sunshine and good feelings.
Sure.
My number 8 game is Immortality.
Okay.
I still think this is the best FMV game ever made. It's so interesting. It's cool. I will say it stumbles a little bit because as you're progressing through, it is kind of random. So, you can get some like late game stuff real early and not know what to do with it, or you're just sitting there mashing through clips trying to find like one of the 4 you haven't found yet so you can finally get to the end game. And that was me kind of. But I do think the story is interesting. I think it's cool how they implement it. I think the 3 movies, they just did a really good job of like showcasing the eras, and like I had a really fun like weekend just exploring this weird mystery.
Cool. All right, the number 8 community game of the year was Sonic Frontiers.
All right.
I'd say I'm surprised it's that low, but no, I'm not. All right, my number 7. You notice I hesitated on saying I wouldn't play Souls games again because my number 7 is Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin.
Sure.
So
I didn't know you played this.
This was one of the 2 games I actually put time into in the last week to kind of get into because I'm like, this is one of the games I know if I play enough of it, it will crack my top 10. And sure enough, it did.
I think it would mine too. Yeah.
Yeah, because that game is stupid as fuck in the best possible way.
Yeah.
Jack is just the dumbest protagonist ever, and it's the best part about it. He's just like, I want to kill Chaos. And then he actively is upset when they're like, Chaos is a concept. He doesn't really exist. And then he just go like, but Chaos, I want to kill him. It's just, they play him so serious, and like apparently the director said they tried to make him cool, but somehow them trying to make him cool is what makes him hilarious. It's just so funny just watching him go on all these things like, I want to kill Chaos. Like, you're not Chaos, I don't care. I want to kill Chaos. Chaos is real. I'm going to find him. It's just so dumb, but like the cutscenes are great. It is what I wanted in combat from Elden Ring because it's Team Ninja. And I already like Team Ninja's combat in Ninja Gaiden, and apparently the engine for this is Neo 2's engine. So if you like Neo 2's combat, that is exactly what this is. But you have the class system from Final Fantasy, which you can switch on the fly. You can switch between like 2 sets just with the press of a button. So you can switch between like, oh, I'm using a greatsword. Oh, now I'm a magician shooting magic. It's very like brutal because like if you just get someone's stun gauge low enough, you'll just take them down with the press of a button, which gives you more MP, which lets you use more skills, which keeps like the flow going. It's Ninja Gaiden-esque, so of course like the bosses are fast and aggressive, which is interesting to get used to, especially with that kind of system. But like there's no stamina, so that's one of my big gripes. Gone immediately. It's basically like if you had given me Elden Ring with the combat of like Neo 2 or Final Fantasy Origin, I think it probably would have been my number 1, straight up. But like this basically hit the gripes that I had about Elden Ring. Isn't up its own ass about the lore. It's just really stupid. It's just like, it is a fun time. And honestly, I wish I had gotten to play more of it. It probably would be higher on the list.
Okay.
The way they do like the class system in that game is unreal. It's very cool.
Dude,
yeah.
I like that you can just change them on the fly. You can just be in the middle of a match, just the middle of a dungeon, just pause and you can just equip everything you want.
It's super
or just
cool.
map it into like the triangle button and just swap between. And it cancels into moves. It feels so much nicer. It feels so much nicer than Elden Ring's combat.
I mean, I don't agree with that, but yes, it's very cool.
But I don't. But you know, like we've had this discussion before. I don't like slow, methodical combat.
Right, exactly.
Like the discussion I've had with people is you either like Devil May Cry style combat or you like Elden Ring slow, methodical combat. I'm very much the Devil May Cry combat.
You definitely.
And that's what
people
Neo
generally
is.
like one more than the other for sure. Yeah.
And that's absolutely what Neo and Stranger of Paradise is. So.
Yeah. That's like one of the top of my pile of shame. I really wish I had played more of that game. So, cool. My number 7 was Metal Hellsinger. For the reasons we've been talking about, it's just a cool rhythm shooter thing, Doom-like in its own way, with an awesome soundtrack that I listened to like even outside of the game. That game is just fantastic, and I loved it.
Saints Row is number 7 for me.
Okay.
It was higher, but it sunk because it's kind of glitchy and bad. But I enjoyed playing. So I liked the characters. I liked kind of how like odd the world was. If you stop and look at some of the stuff, there's just little things in there. I don't know. Like the combat could have been better. The game could have crashed less. That would have been nice. But it didn't matter to me. It brought me back to that kind of 1 and 2 state of just like this slightly off kilter open world crime craziness. So yeah, it scratched an itch for me, and I liked it. I thought it was good.
Nice.
I don't think they're good to make another one because people did not get into it. But oh well, final farewell to that franchise, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a bummer because the last game before that also did not do very good for them, right? Agents of Mayhem.
No.
Yeah. Right.
I kind of forget that's like is affiliated, but yeah.
My number 7 is Pentiment. This is
Yep.
a really cool. It's basically a visual novel with some like I guess adventure game kind of puzzle detective stuff you need to figure out. You're not really doing any puzzles, but you're trying to figure out what the truth was, and then you're accusing people and whatnot. It's a lot bigger than I expected this game. It probably took me close to 20 hours to finish that thing. You know, the art style speaks for itself. It is such a unique, like stunning looking game. It's cool. The characters are interesting, and there's so many of them, and you'll come to like learn about all of them over the like 30 years this game takes place in. It's just a really interesting and unique game. And if you like visual novels, you should check it out for sure.
Community's number 7 was God of War Ragnarok.
Nice.
Okay.
I guess it
Oh,
was.
yeah.
I guess it did come out somewhat recently, so wouldn't have struck too much higher.
Yeah.
All right. My number 6, Little Noah, Scion of Paradise. This one felt like a stealth drop, honestly. It just got announced on a direct, and then it came out the same day. So I was like, oh, that kind of looks neat. I'll try it out. Ended up getting really hooked into it. It's just like a fun 2D platformer roguelike where you just like your attack combo are these spirits you find along the way, which let you dictate your 5 attacks in a row, which is actually really cool. It's a nice way of handling it. there's like I think 35, 40 different attacks you can get, and they have like different elements, attributes, all these things that you can balance out. You get like unlock little moves based on how your runs go, because you get like currency that you can use to upgrade yourself and unlock more items and stuff. Honestly, like it was not super long. I don't even remember how long it took me to get like the run that finally finished it. I think it was like run 6 or 7, but it was genuinely a fun game. I had a great time playing it.
Yeah, it's kind of cheap too. Like it's cheaper than I thought it would be. Like it's a great game to just play and get into. It has the roguelite thing of you can get a run that is broken as shit and it feels so good.
Exactly.
Yeah, that game is super cool. My number 6 is Grounded. That game has been on my radar for a long time, but I didn't want to get super into it until it dropped fully with the story mode. And then it dropped fully, and I was addicted to it for a couple weeks. But of course, it came out around the time where everything comes out, so I put it down for a while. I'm excited to get back into it, though. It's the perfect amount of base building, survival stuff, along with kind of a fun little quirky sci-fi-ish type story and whimsy to it. So that game is great. You can play with a bunch of people, which makes it pretty fun too. But I think I just want to see that story mode. So I think I'm going to go back into it and just focus. Yeah, Grounded is awesome. What a good game.
Yeah, I installed it. I played a tiny bit of the tutorial and it seems great, but yeah, I didn't play it enough for it to make it here. So it's somewhere between the pile of shame and honorable mentions. I don't know.
Yeah.
Number 6 for me is Atari 50, the anniversary celebration.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like I grew up with an Atari around. That was my first gaming platform. I want to say it was the 800 XL or maybe an ST. I tried asking my dad. I was like, what was that thing? And he was looking into it, but we got rid of it. But yeah, just going back to like Centipede and Millipede and stuff and kind of encountering some of these games in like a bit of a context of like, okay, relative to some of this stuff, Caverns of Mars was awesome. That game's actually fun. So cool as opposed to some of its contemporaries that are way too simple and nothing's really going on. That said, Real Sports Volleyball is very simple, but really great. I really enjoyed playing that. And basketball is all I want to do on defense in any basketball game is just punch that guy and take that basketball. So I was like, this has a great groove to it because it's like, hey, fuck you. And you just take the ball back.
Did you throw a knife? Did you stab him with a knife?
Oh, is there full on weapons and stuff?
There are
like,
full on weapons. Like I played the Lynx version. I forget which versions are on there.
There's,
but yeah,
I think it's
at some point,
7800.
someone just pulls a knife on you, and you can just KO someone, and they're just out for like a minute of the game.
That's great. It's great. I was surprised how fun that is. It has a pretty great feel for how old it is. The Lynx looks crazy, like how pixely, like the grid of pixels is so evident.
The Lynx, like you need to hold a Lynx. I have one in the back there. They are clunky. If you think the Game Gear was clunky, it is almost like twice as thick as a Game Gear, which is insane.
Oh god.
Okay, I believe it. Yeah, seeing some of the like vintage ads and stuff for it, and like the discussions around trying to make it work, it's just kind of like tragic the way Atari went over the course of things. But yeah, just a good package, fun interviews. The new games are kind of fun, like just combos of various concepts. Is there a USB trackball for the PC? I have to imagine that exists, right?
I'm sure that exists because
yeah,
you can
for
get
sure.
like arcade ones to make MAME cabinets.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that seems like the next way to delve deeper into some of this stuff, like really appreciate Tempest and whatever in there. But yeah, just covers a broad spectrum, made me very happy, like looking back at some of that stuff. I hope they can get some third-party DLC, because there's definitely some key games from that era that I would love to see realized in there. Because a lot of my Atari time was with like movie games, which aren't going to be in there, like Ghostbusters and The Goonies. So it wasn't 100% my zone of stuff, but it was still in that realm. So yeah, Atari 50.
The museum presentation is so nice as you go through like the timeline, and I really hope some other like rights holders are reaching out to Digital Clips and saying,
So like,
would you
hey, chronicle our stuff like
would you like to
this.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I didn't play that Blizzard thing they did. Was that just 3 games? Like
Yeah, that was Lost Vikings, Blackthorn, and Rock and Roll Racing.
Okay. Yeah, this feels a little more extensive, I guess, which is nice. Even though some of them are crazy simple video game. Fire truck. Like, what was that? But it's like, this would have been novel, I guess. Just have a thing with 2 steering wheels in a building somewhere, but it that does not translate to the home experience. But it's still fun seeing it. So yeah.
My number 6 is God of War Ragnarok. I am not finished this game yet. I will caveat that there, but I think this is one of the best looking games I've ever seen. It plays great. I'm enjoying all the characters. All the characters are like deep and interesting and have like meaningful conflict going on that you just want to hear more about what like their past was or what they're currently dealing with. That's what I've kind of been playing a lot of this week, trying to get more of it done, and that's probably what I'll be playing a lot of tomorrow. I think I do still prefer the first God of War over what I have played of Ragnarok, but Ragnarok is still just like an extremely good game.
Community's number 6 was Splatoon 3.
Wow, that low. Huh.
Yeah.
So other Nintendo games made it higher?
Oh,
All
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's easy. Remember, this year alone was Xenoblade 2 Pokemon games.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Nintendo stuff that came out this year.
Number 5, top 5 now. River City Girls 2, one of the other ones that I ended up playing just to kind of get caught up for a game of the year because I knew it would probably hit there. I think this is exactly where River City Girls 1 landed on my list the year that came out.
Is it more
this
of that?
game? It is more of that,
Nice.
but I had a couple small gripes with it. Like the first time I played it on stream, it felt slower, and I realized, chat pointed it out, this game is locked at 30 FPS while the other one was 60. So it
Bummer.
felt weird.
Yeah.
But now after having played it a bit more, I got used to it.
Yeah.
And I think I actually prefer this one more because the combo system's more fleshed out. So I guess they got more people that worked on River City Ransom Underground involved in this because all the characters from Underground are in it. And just the combo system is ridiculous. Like with just the first few moves I've gotten from leveling up alone, I've already got like a 20-hit combo that just juggles people in midair. And it's just fun to like grab a character, throw them in midair, just do an air combo, and then like dab into them to like just end a combo and send them flying across the screen. There's just so many ways to just, it feels like River City Girls 2, but more. 4-player local. I wish that was also online. There is online, but it is only 2-player, sadly, which I think is the reason they locked it at 30. But at least there is actual online this time around. You start with 4 characters this time around instead of in the first game you started with 2 and unlocked Kunio and Ricky when you beat it. This time around you start with 4 and you unlock 2 new characters as you're playing the game. It feels like more and better. I like that you can literally so the dialogue, there's only 2 characters that tend to talk at all times, but you can pick, if you're playing single player, who the other character is that you have dialogue with. They all say the same beats, but you can pick who says like the other piece of dialogue to go along with your character. You can just go to your headquarters, switch your characters on the fly. It just genuinely feels like a better improvement. It's definitely the better of the 2 games.
Nice.
Cool.
That first game is really good.
Yeah, that makes me want to play this one actually quite a bit. I like the first one, so.
Apparently there's also a post on the Steam page that says frame rate fix incoming. Interesting.
Oh, cool. Okay. Interesting. My number 5 is Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I thought this game was okay. And then, listen, that game is kind of brainless, a lot of it. And it wasn't, if it wasn't for that end game stuff where you go back through everything and it's like, oh, now like they're trying to be a little more difficult, this probably wouldn't be on my list, but I really enjoyed the like ending stuff. It's hard to explain. You get like to an end and then there's more content, which is kind of recycled content, which sucks. So this game would have been higher if that recycled stuff that like makes it harder and kind of just in one big thing was like a difficulty setting, so I could have played the whole game like that. Then I think this would have been higher, but still I enjoyed my time with that part of the game, and I liked that final boss is absolutely fantastic and stupid in the right way that I loved. Yeah, basically I just think it's like kind of brainless for a while, and then I really liked it after that.
I'm gonna tell you a secret about Kirby, Paul.
Yeah.
The whole reusing content in the end, but the ending content is the better content. That's all of them.
Yeah.
They all do that.
Yeah.
They've done that since the NES.
Yeah, that ending content was so good, though. I really enjoyed that shit. I just wish they... It's gonna sound a little more harsh than I want it to. I wish they hadn't wasted my time with that baby shit in the beginning. Like, I wish I could have bumped it up to that just right away from the get-go.
I kind of want to ask like what it's analogous to, but I guess you've discussed it on the show, so it's just
like,
I'll just go research it.
Like a New Game Plus or something. Basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 5 for me. This is where I put Vampire Survivors. I do really like it, but it kind of had this really sweet zone in the middle of my time with it, where the screen was exploding and stuff was happening, and I was getting achievements, and it was just a delight for a good 20 hours of time. And then it got really narrow again at the end, where it's like, you need to figure out how to beat this level with this character in this very rigid way to get this achievement. And I was just beating my brain against some of that stuff. So like this bone zone, I know I complained about it on here before. That bone zone is terrible. I haven't solved it. There's like a giant ball rolling around at some point, and I can't crack it open to get the secret inside. And it just kind of got frustrating eventually at a point. But
yeah,
for like $5.59 or whatever, or Game Pass clicking, like what a treat is in there. So yeah, fantastic time. There's my compulsive nature to get achievements is what's hurting me at this point. It's starting to sting a little bit.
Gotcha.
Like, how do I get to minute 31? Like, what's happening? So yeah, I might go back at some point. I wish I could play it portably. It's definitely like the Steam Deck seller in my brain, but yeah, Vampire Survivors.
Well, it's on
mobile.
cloud gaming with touchscreen, so you can play the Xbox version on your phone with touch controls. So there's your mobile
pretty simple
version.
game, so probably would work. Okay,
true.
There you go.
Okay,
solved.
I didn't do that, so
Game of the
5.
year. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're at number 5, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Number 5 is Citizen Sleeper. I've talked about it several times already. Love that story. Citizen Sleeper is great. It's on Game Pass. Go play Citizen Sleeper.
That definitely would have been on my list if I had played more of it in time. Just straight up. It's fantastic, but I need to see more of it. The community number 5 was Elden Ring.
Okay.
Yeah.
Somehow Pokemon is gonna win the whole thing.
I mean, some Pokemon's no, actually, I'm torn because I'm betting the top 3 is 2 Pokemon games and Xenoblade.
You know what? You all know Scarlet and Violet somewhere in there. Where do you guys think it is? Let's just go there.
I think it's number 1.
I said it aloud. I'm saying number 1.
It's number 1.
Yeah,
it's number 1 or number 2 because Arceus was also the same year.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to make this more interesting. I can guarantee you it's not number 1. I'll give you that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And number 2. Like,
it's number 2. Then it's number 2.
Closest to number 1.
And then number 1's Arceus. That's it. We've done. We've solved it.
All right. Fair enough.
My number 4 is Vampire Survivors.
Okay.
So
sure.
So I was one of the ones that got into it before the end of the year happened. So I was playing it in 22, and even then, like, while it was still very, very simple,
You mean
like
21.
Sorry, the end of 21.
Okay, you're right.
Got into the end of last year, and even though it had just like dropped, it was just in early access. Like, it still was super interesting, and just to see how much they fleshed that game out, how many characters they've added, and just like it's become like this weird phenomenon is just so amazing to watch for just a game that's just such a simple concept. It's even got clone games. Like, it's got tons of clone games, including like HoloLive ones based on VTubers.
HoloCure is legitimately good. If people want a good free clone and they are into HoloLive stuff, download HoloCure. It's actually legitimately good.
Well, isn't Vampire Survivors actually also technically a clone of something else? It's just the one that got big.
Is it?
Maybe.
I think so. That's what I was hearing.
I thought not.
I think so.
It could be. I actually don't know.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's helping me kind of like pretend I'm really good at bullet hell or something, but I'm not. So it's just like I'm just mindlessly piloting around this dude and everything dies. So I feel great.
It's a clicker. This is a clicker.
It's basically a clicker. But man, that music's really good. And the bats wobble in this really funny way. It's really good.
It's kind of a clone of Magical Survival, but Magical Survival is kind of bad.
Oh, okay.
a refinement of this formula.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Oh, that was sorry, that was mine. So go ahead.
That was yours, right? Okay. My number 4 is Tunic. Again, I'll reiterate, I don't think that combat is very good. I think it's fine. That's not what made this game pop to me. It is definitely the finding the pages of the manual, unlocking the secrets that game has slowly, and then you hit the wall of secrets, and then you take out the graph paper and you start drawing lines and symbols, and you're just like, holy shit, I think I cracked it. And then you like...
Okay, so that's where the fezziness happens.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then you're just like... Then after you're done that and you get the quote-unquote true ending, doing the giant puzzle that's like fucking mind-numbing, you're like, I wonder if that's a real language and if people are working on it. Then you Google it and you're like, of course people are working on it. There's a whole Reddit dedicated to this. They got a few words done. Let's see how they like are saying what this language is. You read about it. You're like, I don't understand how people figured this out. That's insane to me. Obviously, I'm not going to say what that is here, but if people are interested, you should look up what that language in that book is, because even knowing how to decipher it, I don't know how the fuck you would start to decipher that thing. It's crazy. So that game is awesome. Just one of the most memorable things of this year. Easy.
This is number 4 is where I put Pentiment. I actually
Nice.
really liked it. It sort of bucked me off the horse also, like once it switches what you're doing in like the 6th chapter or whatever. I was kind of not stoked about it for a while, but then it started working out and I was into it again. I like the early part where you can like just spend meals with different people to kind of talk to them, and it's like, this is how I'm spending lunchtime, is with this guy. I don't know what else I could have done during this time. I probably could have gone over here and had a meal with someone else and learned different things, but time is rolling forward and I only have so much time to try to figure out what happened.
That's just life, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it kind of has a nice like slice of life from the 1500s thing going on. Kind of the only video game that's ever put me in like the similar mental state I was in when I watched Martin Scorsese's Silence about monks in Japan. You know?
Okay.
Like
No.
it's like it's just the most religious game. Like it's just this whole society is extremely religious at this time, and that's just what it is, and you're immersed in it, and how you talk to people and how you like, should I be real snarky and crappy about this? Like, no, because I don't want to get in trouble or piss someone off or whatever. Like I was kind of really invested in my decisions and how I was interacting with all these people. So yeah, I found myself really engrossed in the stories and the characters. To the point where I was kind of like I was kind of crappy about like, oh, I have to play as this person. I thought I'd be a different person that I was way more interested in, but there was a good reason. They justified everything in the end. I'm assuming some stuff plays out the same way for everybody, but there's sort of dynamic ways you can solve things, right?
I haven't looked it up, but my
Okay.
take is I think there's only one ending to this game.
I'm pretty sure there's only one ending, but it's kind of like who you decide to accuse and whatever is variable. Yeah. Yeah, kind of remind me of like a Telltale game in some ways, with how it's like there's literally this character will remember this, failed a bunch of speech checks because it's like, but you told me to do this. It's like, you're right. Yeah, I did. I told you to join the convent. I'm sorry. I don't know. Like I
told you to dig up that grave, and
I was thoughtless earlier. But yeah, it had me really engaged in this story. Kind of reminded me of like the South Park game in terms of how it moved around. Like I'm assuming that's what they're working with, Obsidian, like for the 2D, 3D, just with a totally different art style.
Okay,
but yeah, and no combat. But yeah, eating food, and it ends like, well, one of the main events is Christmas, so it timed out well for me to be playing that right around now again. But yeah, real charming if you're into that whole like time travel kind of thing. It has like a very hundreds of years ago feel, which was cool. So yeah. Pentiment, Obsidian. Yeah, my goodwill from Outer Worlds kind of rolled into checking out their new game. So yeah.
Number 4 for me is Neon White, for all the reasons we've talked about. It's such a fun game. I played all of it. I was getting all the medals until I needed to finish it for the Patreon episode. But yeah, I just had so much fun playing Neon White.
Nice. Community number 4 was Pokemon Scarlet/Violet.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, that low.
Okay.
Huh?
Yeah.
So it's Kirby, Xenoblade, and Arceus.
72 on Metacritic, right? Just anyway.
Number 3 for me, Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series. I've
Nice.
talked about a bunch in the past how much I love Klonoa, and just getting a remake, just Namco being like, hey, we remember this series exists, is nice. I know some people were not the biggest fan of it being like for a remake. They're like, okay, it's expensive, it's not as nice as say the Wii version, it's missing some of the Wii features for the first Klonoa, etc. But it was just really nice to be able to go back to that and just play them again. And in the case of me, like also like experiencing Klonoa 2, which I had never gotten a chance to in the past. So it was just nice to like finish Klonoa 1 and like actually see like the proper ending of that, and just enjoy a series that I played a bunch years ago on the Game Boy Advance.
Yeah. True. My number 3 is God of War Ragnarok. I think that story is kind of dumb in some ways, poorly written. I think the characters written are written well. I think some of the pacing is god awful, but man, that gameplay is just so satisfying and so good. That's just jumping back into that style of game, and the mechanics and stuff just feels so good, and it just gets better and better as you get new things. I can't really talk about specific things, but you get a different item later on that like kind of changes again how you do some stuff. Yeah, that game just plays really good, and it's kind of a shame that I feel like they flubbed some of the stuff that the first one did so well, but it's such a solid experience that it was definitely going to be high. I think the way that a lot of the story stuff was written and kind of how it ends and stuff bumped it down for me down to 3, but I mean 3 is still notable. So
yeah, third best game of the year or third favorite game of the year, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like some Halo. I like Half-Life. I like Metroid Prime. But I like to laugh. So if you fuse all those things together, you get High on Life. It's just a really great action-adventure game.
All right.
Had me rolling in the aisles. No, I was
Best
really
game with
happy.
Paul Walker in it in the year of our Lord 2022.
Yeah, he's there. Tanny and the Teenage Rex. He's right there in the 90s. Yeah, the ability to watch movies, like honestly, the darkness a little bit too, like having Mike Patton constantly talking to you as you're eating hearts like 15 years ago. This was kind of like, oh yeah, why had never anybody iterate on chatty weapons? This is great. So I was really pleased with how it played. Honestly, a little bit too. I for a while I was like, no, you just like that, it's funny. But it's like I kind of like how it plays. I kind of want these achievements. And then when you go back through an area and it's like a weird ghost town and no one's talking and it's creepy, it's kind of getting into that Metroid Prime space of just slingshotting around looking for treasure chests as tobacco music plays. So I was just happy all over the place.
Nice.
I'm sort of weighing it down with recency bias, so it cannot be the top game. That would be absurd. But I'm going to put it here at the bronze tier because I was really happy. So,
did you say this is the best game with Alien Come?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It is.
Just checking.
I didn't play it the second time, but yes.
I do like it that when he offers to sell it to you and you're like, yeah, I'll take it. He's like, oh, really? Just just like that? You just want it? Like, yep.
All right.
No questions.
This gallon jug in your inventory, and you can't do anything about it. Yeah. But you get an achievement, so great.
You get an achievement. Yes, that's true. Number 3 for me is Vampire Survivors. What else is there to say other than when you take the garlic and then a horde of bats comes at you and you just kill them all? That's one of the best feelings in video games of 2022.
It's pretty
Those
good.
bats are so good. They're just wiggling. Yep. And the music, I don't know.
The music surprisingly doesn't.
It was on my brain for best sound, but I don't know.
I did have it
couldn't
on
quite
best
do
audio
it.
for a bit, and it got bumped off eventually. But yeah, just the fact that you don't get like tired of it. I will say
Like,
though,
I'm listening to the same track for half an hour and I'm still stoked about it. Like, it's kind of a miracle.
I
but
do
yeah.
wish when you get a chest, you could skip that animation, because sometimes it's
You
like,
can.
okay, just
You can.
It doesn't.
Oh, but
how?
I'm always quietly hoping
You
for
just
the
you double
dopamine
tap
hit of the five
the
chest.
action button.
Really?
I skip them
Yeah.
all the time. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
man, you just saved what is eventually will be
Seconds.
hours off my life.
Seconds.
Eventually hours.
But the quintuple chest, though, when that hits.
Quintuple one. That's
Yeah,
so
you
I
always
guess
let
what
that one play out. but, yeah.
Oh,
I guess what I want is I want to double tap it, but if it doesn't work, it's like, no, hang on, because it's a quintuple chest, and it's like, ah, you got me, thank you. Anyway, that's
No, it's
Vampire
fun. It's a fun
Survivors.
thing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
The community number 3 was the other Pokemon game, Pokemon Legends.
Wow, I'm actually surprised that was only number 3. It's
Kirby
Xenoblade
Dream
Kirby?
Buffet.
Kirby
Number one.
above both Pokemon
Watch,
games.
it's going to be the soccer one.
High on life.
That would
Everybody
blow
else
my
got
mind.
into it too.
That would
That's
legit
what it's
blow
gonna
my
be.
mind. My number 2. We're at number 2 now, right?
Yep.
Ninja Turtles: Shredder's Revenge.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a great beat 'em up. Absolutely great.
Yep.
It's really fun to go through. 6 players and has online for
Yeah.
all. I think
Yeah.
all of those is just great. And the fact that it got like a patch like this week, adding more content, is just perfect. Like,
Honestly,
I'm just so
just-
glad that it did as well as it did, and that it's getting support as well as it. This was the game, one of the games last year where I was like, I want this to be good. I had this in the list with like Strikers and something else, and Strikers and whatever the other thing was disappointed me. Oh, Kirby, it was the other one. Yeah, so Strikers and Kirby both disappointed me. So I'm like, man, none of the games I was excited for are actually going to be good. And then this one was the one that bucked the trend. I was like, thank God.
It's so
It
good.
is pretty impressive. 6-player online when most of these games, like look at River City Girls 2, 2-player
Yeah.
online. Like they managed to
Yeah.
get 2, and then this
That's
does
the thing.
6, and you can just drop in it. And the 6 is so just wild and weird. It's very fun. when you
It changes
do
the
that
game
first time.
completely, playing with 6 people
Yeah.
for sure.
That's like, I like River City Girls 2 a lot, but like I can't rate it higher than Shredder's Revenge. Shredder's is just the better game. Even though they're both different beat 'em up experiences. Like, it's just the more solid package.
I kind of thought this would be number 1 for you, honestly.
So did I last year, apparently.
Yeah, fair enough. My number 2 is Vampire Survivors.
Whoa.
If Wordle was the game that I, like, for most of the year played every day, this was, like, my number 2 that I played almost every day, at least for months. At some point, it became a drag of just, like, well, they released 10 new achievements. I guess I'm going to be playing this for 20 hours or something. But, yeah, that game is just, it grabbed me in all the right ways, and it still hasn't let go. I mean, I played it last week again. Like, I play it all the time. Just a great pot. The problem is I need podcast games, or like while I'm watching streams or whatever, and that's what that game is. It's perfect for that. So that's kind of what took over after Power Wash Sim was done for me.
Are you getting a minute 31? Like, what do I do? Is that a
I
spoiler?
mean, you can get past 31. So
Yeah.
yes,
All right.
You just need a certain weapon set.
If I don't get
basically.
past 31, I fucked up probably at some point.
Okay. I'm still in that state then where I'm bumping up against something. So, okay. I'll go back. Number 2 for me was Arcade Paradise.
Yeah.
I was expecting this to be your number
I kind of
one.
was too.
Wow.
It was close. It was close. Games within games. Love games within games.
Right.
Just running my little arcade there, doing the laundry, and it, $30 quick on that dryer. That's kind of fun stuff too. But yeah, just I was super hooked on this game until I completed everything. They've kind of done DLC with like a cabinet here and there, but I kind of just want the whole, like a whole nother one of these or something. I hope that can happen. I don't know how well it did, but I like it. It really put me in a positive space. I think I covered it with the wholesome mostly, really, like my feelings on it. But great game, great video game.
My number 2 game is Tunic.
Wow,
I
that's higher than I thought.
I
Nice.
really
Wow.
liked Tunic. It kind of hit everything for me. I think it looks great. I think that the audio is also quite enjoyable. And then yeah, the like weird puzzles going on aspect was super engaging, and flipping through that manual, trying to like piece things together, like slowly realizing that every single little visual tick in that manual will mean something. It's not just put there on accident. It is ripped this way on purpose. The weird coffee stain is there on purpose, and learning what those things all mean. And yeah, it's really cool. I loved going through. I love every part of that game. I think it is strong start to finish. I did not have any. I surprisingly didn't have any issues with I think any of the bosses. Anytime I got stuck on a boss, it was like, all right, now's the time to just unload all my items that I've just been hoarding. And that worked out.
You didn't have a problem with the dude with like the gun, the hunter guy? That fight is
I don't even
fucked.
remember what you're talking about. I guess not.
Yeah, I don't know. There's like an underground area, but at the end there's a dude with a gun and throws grenades, and he's bouncing around this like little platform.
I don't think so.
Man,
I don't. No.
Yeah. It's just your
I guess
mileage.
like
If you have a tough time, you're gonna feel sad, I guess.
Yeah,
But,
no, for whatever
yeah.
reason, just the combat clicked with me. And like I said, anytime I did run up against a wall, it was like, well, I have all these freeze items. I'm just going to throw them and then destroy you. So yeah, it worked for me, and that game is really cool.
Okay.
cool.
Does the community agree?
Community's number 2.
The community
No, it was already
agrees
Glee down
about
there.
Xenoblade Chronicles 3 being the second best of the year.
I haven't played any of those. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
No, I'm saying it's high on life, dude. Everybody got
It's-
way into it.
It's
They
going to
voted.
be Immortality. They know it's the best. They love FMV games. It's the best one ever made.
Yeah. Was it Telling Lies? That was also the same person.
Telling Lies, yeah.
Okay.
That one's okay. All right, so now the community guessed our game of the years, right, Paul?
They did. All right, starting with John.
Yep.
Yeah, I was on the same page as them. The majority of the votes said Shredder's Revenge.
Do they? What else do they have on there?
The second closest one is Vampire Survivors.
Okay.
And then
All right,
after
John,
that,
you
it
want-
drops off a lot to Elden Ring, which we know is wrong.
Well, all
John.
three of these games made my top 10, so they were right
Yep.
about that.
Yep.
So my number one game, I thought about it, and actually
Good.
originally when I wrote my list, I actually had everything bumped down one. So like Shredder's Revenge was my third game, Klonoa was fourth, etc.
Okay.
And this game I wrote in at number 2, and then I sat down and realized like, what's the thing I always say about games? I tend to not
Picross.
like what?
You always say that you'd rather they be Picross.
You're right. So my
It's
number
the
one game was
latest
Picross
Picross
X
game.
Elebits, whatever the fuck it was called. No, no. The one thing I say about games is like it has to be something special for me to actually replay the game.
Sure.
Because traditionally I'll beat a game and then just move on, and I'll only replay it if it's going for achievements or something.
You played through Elden Ring twice.
I actually did do that.
He
However,
did.
Elden Ring's already on my list.
That was a psych out. He's gonna swap
Yeah.
it.
Yep.
Yeah. So I realized there was only like maybe like 1 or 2 games this year I played through multiple times. But like there was only one game I could think of that it came out, it was a surprise release to me. I knew nothing about it, and I was just entertained the entire time. I kept digging in, looking online for secrets. I kept trying to find things over and over in it. It was just like it hit a lot of the notes I like. It's a Metroidvania. It's a 2D game.
Oh.
It has a lot of personality to it, and I just loved so much about it. My number 1 game this year was Infernax.
Yeah, dude. Infernax got bumped off my list last minute too, actually. That's a great game.
No,
Did you
dude.
talk about this on the show?
Yes. We
Oh,
played this
okay.
back in February. It was when this came out.
Okay.
Infernax is great. That's a great game.
Infernax was this huge out of nowhere surprise for me. I didn't even know one of my friends worked on the soundtrack until I found him in the game. And I didn't think I was going to like the game because it's Zelda 2, and I don't really like Zelda 2 all that
Yeah,
much.
Zelda
but like
2.
it actually makes Zelda 2 fun. It has so many stupid Easter eggs in it. There's just so many endings you can get, and I don't even think like the community at large found them all. I think there's just a bunch of hidden ones people never cracked. Yeah, it came out on Valentine's Day, like chat saying. Like it's just like a stupid fun game. It has a morality system that actually works and actually has a like, hey, yeah, you were a little bad, but then you decided to go to good. So here's an ending for doing that. Oh, you went completely bad? Here's an ending for that. Oh, you want the true ending? You have to do all of that. But you can save and then you can make the choices that you want that actually give you the ending credit, and we'll keep that credit for you. So you don't have to do 4 playthroughs. You can do 2.5 or something like that. And like it honestly, like what you got for getting that was amazing. Suddenly turning like this Zelda-like game where you're just running around with like a little mace and you learn spells and stuff like that. Suddenly turning it into Contra and getting a machine gun and a motorcycle was fucking incredible. And then apparently like they added Halloween DLC this year where they basically turned you into Jason and Ash from Evil Dead. You got a shotgun and like a machete. And I'm just like, this is just perfect. I just love how stupid this game is. I love that this game just embraces it all. It gives me all the things I love about Metroidvanias and just has fun with it. So once I realized, like, I was thinking about the games I played this year, this was an easy number 1 for me.
Nice.
Right on.
That's a great game. All right, for me, the community basically didn't have any deliberation. 20 people guessed Elden Ring, and then it goes down to like 2 people guessed another one, and then it's ones all the way down. Like, and it's Elden Ring.
What was the another one? What was 2 votes?
God of War Ragnarok.
Okay.
Sure.
And it's
and
Elden
they were
Ring.
wrong.
Yeah.
It's not even on the list. Crazy.
Yeah, it's not on the list at all. Somebody literally just wrote something P-Cross related, probably, which is a little offensive, but okay.
Did they mean that for me? I don't know.
No, because for you, I think they put something else. But yeah, no, of course it was going to be Elden Ring. I put so much time into this. It's a giant open world Souls game, which I like the Souls game. It's so different and like the evolution of that combat style that if you don't like it, you probably shouldn't play anymore, because this is probably how all of those games are going to feel from now on going forward with like the jump and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. That game is just incredible in a way that I didn't think it would ever live up to with the amount of hype that it had. And for me, it just hit on every point. There was a mod release where you can play co-op with somebody else, and I've been wanting to for a long time now, but there's just been too many things coming out. I'm like itching to get back into that game and play through it again. That's just one of the best experiences of the year, easily.
Okay.
All right, Nathan, wild card here.
Did the chat say anything or nah?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not even gonna say it because when they said it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's totally what it is. That's so obvious. So yeah, go ahead.
Oh, what were they saying? Splatoon 3?
Yes.
Okay. Well, they were right.
Yeah.
That was the game I kept going back to. It's probably the first like online action competitive-ish thing I've played since like Counter-Strike Source with any regularity. Okay. So it's been a long time. I know I'm old and slow. I can't get out of that B ranking. I know I'm not very good, but I'm having fun. I just keep returning to this game. It's kind of my introduction. I know everyone had this experience like 5 years ago when 2 came out, but I didn't do that. So on a whim, I picked this up, and I really like swimming. I just love painting and swimming, and then popping out, shooting stuff.
What's your go-to weapon?
What is my Splattershot Junior? Kind of ended up being it. It was the Sploosha-matic for a while though. That was my first weapon that I figured I liked because I like the stamp, the super stamp.
The Sploosh does good damage. Yeah.
The ultra stamp or whatever. Yeah, that was a big one.
You a gyro guy?
Little what? Gyro guy?
Gyro aiming?
I do not, and I probably need to get to that next level.
If you're gonna
I don't know.
Make a living at it, yeah.
Yeah, if I'm gonna
become a professional splatter.
I watched a tournament. I watched a bunch of Japanese people playing this. Like I was interested in that for the first time ever. I was like, because I know how it plays and I know the maps, so it's just like, oh yeah, crazy. Oh wow, that guy's really doing it with the flingser roller. I never use that thing, but
like
apparently you can. Yeah,
I like the roller.
Lot of Salmon Run for me nowadays.
Salmon Run's great. Love that.
Yep, more collaborative. I will say though, this game has also provided the most like infuriating communication error. Guess what? none of those people are here anymore. And you're just like, dude, we had such a good thing going, and we had such a great tight knit crew that we've been playing with for like 2 hours, and now they're gone. So thanks,
Forever.
Nintendo.
Because it's a Nintendo game, so it's like you will
Yeah.
never meet
So
this
many
person
network
your entire
issues, crashing to desktop, like whatever, crashing to the home screen, I guess, from like Salmon Run after you've completed a run, it just kind of hangs and dies. I don't know. I wish it was better, I guess, but I was still really happy with how it plays and its whole thing. So yeah, I really like it. I missed out 5 years ago, I guess, but I'm catching up now. Splatoon, Nintendo. I read through the art book of the first game. Like I was, really into this whole thing. So
nice.
Yeah.
You think you might go back and play the first two?
I played the first one quite a bit. Got into some Wii U matches with people. Like people were still playing it, which was great. The Squid Jump game that's a great idea while you're loading into a match, and you need it now because it's going to take a while. Because there's like 11 people playing, and you need to all get into this game. Splatoon 2 is on the wish list, I guess. I'll definitely take a look at it. Yeah.
Nice. All right, Sean. They were wrong just straight up because they guessed God of War Ragnarok. Do you want some other answers that they gave?
Sure.
The next one was Elden Ring. That was pretty close. And then it drops off a lot, but the next one was A Plague Tale Requiem.
Okay. My number one was Elden Ring.
Whoa.
What? This game is tremendous. Like, this is one of the best games of all time, as far as I'm concerned. This is a Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
This is a game that people will be referring to for decades. They will talk about Elden Ring. I assure you, it is incredible what they did there. Again, it's my first From Software Souls-like. I basically just bought it because I was like, the hype is so high. I need to be a part of the zeitgeist. And this was one of the games where the zeitgeist kept going all year, and it was so fun to be a part of it and learn and see all the fun memes on Twitter. And then I know the co-op is restrictive, but the fact that I was able to play every dungeon in co-op was incredible for me. And it turned, like, my game was basically running around finding dungeons and then going through them with a friend, every single one of them. Like, I put 110 hours, I think, into the game was my time, and like, it doesn't even feel like I put in that much time. Whereas that's probably like 4 times the next closest game in terms of how much time put into it. It is so well done. There is so many fun secrets. It is so fun to play. Like, the stories are so cool. The characters are interesting. Like, it is almost unfair how incredible this game was. And Paul said it, like, the expectations were so high and they still surpassed them like tenfold. It's ridiculous, I think.
This game has so many people I know in real life and online that have never played a Soul game get really into this. Either, like, even if they didn't love it at the very end, they all, like, finished it at least. That's insane to me.
Absolutely. Like, I'm almost, like, now worried about the Breath of the Tears of the Kingdom, because it's like, if they didn't take some of the lessons that Elden Ring did, because Elden Ring took lessons from Breath of the Wild, it's almost going to feel like a step back. Like,
that's a weird thought. I didn't even consider.
It's like the Beach Boys and the Beatles, you know, like they're just cultural exchange.
I'm genuinely curious if Nintendo, like, had to rework some stuff or felt scared in any way when Elden Ring dropped, and they just, like, ate Breath of the Wild's lunch, as far as I'm concerned. And, like, Torrent putting a double jump on a horse. Holy shit!
I should have known that would have been what did it.
Honestly, when I first played that, I was just like, "This is gonna be Sean's game of the year," like, jokingly, but
it feels so good. Like, holy shit, it feels so good. What's funny is, like, the other platforming when you're not on the horse, it sucks. And then you get on the horse,
totally.
And you have a double jump. So, like, yeah,
that's funny.
I can't say it any harder. It is an absolutely tremendous game. Like, it is it is going to be in the history books It'll be when people are, when kids
Cave
are doing
paintings of Elden Ring bosses.
when people are going to be like, what's on the Mount Rushmore of video games 20 years from now? People are going to probably put Elden Ring up there.
It's like, oh, you mean how they recarved Mount Rushmore to just be Elden Ring stuff? Anyway, yeah.
No,
Who can say?
Elden Ring is so good. And Nathan, I'm excited for you to eventually get to it.
I did finally buy it, so
there we go.
It's right there, ready to be 2023's 2022 game of the decade or whatever.
Whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all know the community's game of the year. I think John said it. He got it. So
Kirby Dream Buffet. Right?
No.
That's it. That's the one.
Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
I can't believe that's number one. In a year with actually so many great Nintendo games, I can't believe that was number one.
I like that Kirby game, so I'm fine with that. I'm really happy it's not one of the Pokemon games because they don't deserve it.
I'm going to state again, like, I know I put Kirby on my disappointing list. It's on my honorable mentions list. I still liked it.
Yeah.
I still can't believe with how many strong Nintendo releases there were this year that it was number one. That legit surprises me.
Was Bayonetta 3 on the list at all?
Mm-hmm.
No.
It is number 14.
Top 10.
Oh,
It's what?
well, yeah. Sorry, it wasn't on the top 10. It was in the top 20, I guess.
I'm pretty surprised about that. Just thinking about that, but
the controversy, I think, burned it for some people.
Yeah,
sure.
I think so too.
John just mentioned honorable mentions. We all have a list of games that didn't get to our list, but we want to shout them out for one reason. So, John, why don't you give us a handful of those, and we'll kind of speed around these ones.
I got 5. I can jam through them all. They're more or less in order of where I probably would have put them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my number 11 was Metal Hellsinger.
Okay.
I really like I said, I got turned around on the game. I really liked it, but I just couldn't justify moving anything off the list. It got edged off at the very end. My number 12 would have been Gungrave Gore, which was the latest Gungrave game, because that is just a PS2 ass game in like the best way possible. It's just absolutely stupid. It oozes that weird, like, over the top style that's just like the right amount of janky but still somehow fun. Just the time I had playing it was great, and honestly, if I'd played more of it, probably would have cracked top 10 proper. Stray was my number 13, just because that just was fun to run around and play and just do, and obviously Bagel. I already have an orange cat. I think the scene where like the cat gets hurt and you hear him like whimper, like that actually like affected me. I'm
It's
like, oh
the
god,
worst.
no,
I hate it.
Yeah,
Yep.
I hate that scene.
Yep.
14, The Witch Knight. That was a Metroidvania that's also like bullet hell. Like you fly around, you shoot, stuff like that. You use randomized cards for your spells and stuff like that. Cool idea. Just didn't get too far into it, unfortunately, in time. Other stuff got in the way, but I liked the concept of it. And my number 15 was Kirby and the Forgotten Land, because for as much as I said it was disappointing, it still is a good game. I still think it's fun. There are some good moments for it. I really like that final true boss fight. And while I have gripes about it, I still recognize that, like, for a proper 3D Kirby, it's a decent first attempt. And I really think the second one they do of this, if they ever do, will probably be the one that I actually like.
Yeah, I think, like, a little perspective, just for, like, my sake too, is that you play a lot of these. This is the first 3D one I've played in maybe a decade. So
this is the first 3D one they've done.
Oh,
sure.
sure.
For being real, I don't think there's a Kirby game I've missed that came out in North America at this point. So, like, and I was starting to get Kirby fatigue around, like, I guess even the last one, Star Allies. The last one I really enjoyed was Planet Robobot, which was the second 3DS one. Yeah. And that is part of the reason that the ending for the game didn't hit as well for me.
Sure.
Because I'm like, yeah, Robobot did it better.
I've heard Robobot is very good, yeah. Both of the
Robobot
3DS
is very good.
really
I thought whatever the first 3DS one was, like Super Deluxe, I was like, that's all right. But yeah, Robobot I genuinely enjoyed.
All right, I'll name off ones that haven't had any time yet and probably won't. Okay. I thought Nobody Saves the World was great, but not enough people were talking about it. It kind of fell under the radar. It was early in the year, so we're 12 months away from when it came out, so people forgot about it. It happens, but I think that is a pretty fun little Zelda-like type thing with a cool mechanic of you changing into different forms and leveling them up and then mix and matching them to do different things in the world. It's cool. That's a cool game.
It is cool. It's super arcadey. You can just like mash your way through stuff. This is also on my honorable mentions.
Which game is this?
This is Nobody Saves the World.
Oh, Nobody Saves the World. Okay.
And it has a online co-op, so that's a big plus for me.
Sure. Ghostwire Tokyo, while not great, is kind of a fun little, like, I don't know, Skyrim-esque thing where you're in just this weird Japanese, like, Tokyo City amalgamation of, like, just Japanese city sort of thing. And being in that world is kind of cool. The gameplay is okay at best. I think it deserves, like, a talk, but, like, this is one that if you got on a sale, I think that's probably a decent sale. I found it okay. We talked about the Quarry. Nightmare Reaper is a cool little boomer shooter roguelite indie thing where there's this weird through line story going through where you are in like a mental asylum or something, and every time you go to bed, you're into like a new roguelite type level, a Doom-like sort of thing where you're getting collectibles and upgrading your weapons and changing them out. It has a cool little weird mini game thing where you literally are playing Game Boy Advance SP type thing, and you're playing a different mini game in the game that is a dream that you're having in the game. That thing is just super neat, and it's unfortunate that probably not a whole lot of people will talk about it ever again. So Nightmare Reaper, people should check that out. If you like horror stuff, and specifically Resident Evil type things, Phobia Saint Dinfa Hotel is a great Resident Evil 7-like. Nightmare of Decay is a great kind of combination of Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 1 type thing. A lot of homages in there to those games.
I'm surprised Signalis is not.
Signalis,
yeah.
I was just about to say Signalis is a great Silent Hill type game. If you like that sort of thing, I definitely think people should check out Signalis. That was on my list for a while, but it just got pushed out from other things.
Okay.
Dark Tide is a great thing to play with friends because those games are fun. And Lunistis, which is the most recent game that I've been kind of playing, is just a small indie fun, like, croc running game, like from the PS1 type thing. And it's just running and through a level, platforming, collecting stuff. It is absolutely fantastic, and people should check out Lunistis. So there's
that's a fun flow game.
It's so good. Yep.
I don't have very many because I was playing a lot of older stuff. So I just have JR East Train Simulator, which is basically a lightly interactive video of a train in Japan.
Nice.
They need some more stations and stuff added to that thing. I think it's an early access, so hopefully we get that. But allegedly, it's like the real thing JR East employees are like trained on. To pilot trains correctly. And it's like, oh, gotta slow down, man, coming up on the station, but you don't want to be too late. It's just, yeah, I found it kind of charming. I had to pick it up, but it's weird playing the same station over and over because you're just like, yeah, this is just the same guy is standing at the exact same place on the platform every time I do this. So, all right, I hope they add more. It's not all there. And then if I can throw to older stuff that's like, this is still supported because it's a live game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Master Chief Collection. I've spent a ton of time playing Halo this year.
Okay.
You are a Halo guy.
Halo Infinite fan.
Yeah.
I haven't like this is me kind of like, oh, I got to catch up. I never played 4. I never played 5. So I got to get ready for Infinite. So I haven't played it yet. But this was the notion here was I was going to play a bunch of these and catch up, but I ended up just spending a ton of time playing Halo 1, 2, 3, and ODST. 3 is so good. Yeah. I forgot how good it is. So Halo 3, I guess, is my honorable mention. What a video game they made 15 years ago.
They got to finish the fight.
Yeah. I forgot, I guess. So honorable mentions.
Okay. I have 11, but ones that we've already talked about: Pokemon Legends, Nobody Saves the World, Kirby, Stanley Parable. The rest of them, Escape Academy is a lot of fun. It's a escape room, goofy co-op game that's just great, and they have DLC already out and more coming out, so I'm planning to go back to that. Road 96 is the child
that looked neat. Yeah,
of a roguelike and a visual novel, which I'm kind of just surprised they like pulled that off because that's a weird pairing, but
it's on my play later list. So,
yeah, it's a weird one, so I liked that one. Horizon Forbidden West was on my number 10, like kind of 10 slot for a while there, but much like Horizon Zero Dawn, one of the greatest games of all time came out a week later and made it like non-existent.
That series just has like the worst luck
It
release-wise.
Yeah.
It's almost comical. So that has been on my like. As soon as I'm done this, I'm gonna go back and keep playing Forbidden West. So I'll get to that eventually. Call to the Lamb is cool, and I had a really great weekend running through that.
Yeah.
Marvel Snap, I've also mentioned, is fantastic and probably like my mobile game of the year easily.
Sure.
Norco was my number 10 for so long. I tried so hard keeping this on there. But Norco is a really fantastic point-and-click adventure game. It's on Game Pass. Nathan, you should really play Norco. I think it would you would really enjoy it. When you get in the second half and meet the detective, make sure you get him to wear the clown makeup, because it unlocked a lot of really fun dialogue sequences. But like you come across like a weird cult that took over an abandoned Best Buy, and the cult, everyone changes their name to Garrett, but they keep wearing the Best Buy uniforms. It is like such a weird game where it's like real serious, but also just like goofy, and Norco is so cool. It is definitely up there. And then I've mentioned Melatonin a couple times. Melatonin is really great.
I've read this in the chat. I do want to give the call out. Last Call BBS is fantastic, and if you like Star Fox, you need to check out X Zodiac. That game is amazing. Yeah, those are good polls as well.
All right, and the last one, or not last one. Next is our pile of shame. These are games that we didn't get to. These lists are usually pretty long, so if John, you want to give us a handful, and we can kind of go around and do a few at a time.
Let me see what my shame list is.
Pile of shame on the community? I can't remember.
It is, and I have them, but I mean,
okay.
I'll just give a handful.
It's got to be the most scattered, like 1 point for everything list, right?
Yeah. Can you make like a top 3?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, why don't we do that?
There's
John,
a lot of ties, so.
Okay, maybe
I have 22 games on my shame list this year.
All right, do you want to give us like?
See, I'll balance out the time because I only have 3.
I have 25.
Okay.
Oh my god!
Wow, I didn't have the longest list this year. That's wild.
I have 11. So, John, why don't you give us like 6?
All right, Sifu. I really like the idea behind it. It seemed like such a cool idea, although brutal and challenging. Just never got around to it because I wasn't playing much on my PS5 this year, honestly. And there was a weird controversy about it when it came out. I don't know if that ever worked out or not.
Oh,
something about the collector's edition. I don't remember the full details anymore, but I remember I avoided like playing it for a while because it's just like, there's like weird negative buzz around this right now. But then like I guess it got explained or straightened out because everyone was like got over it really fast. God of War Ragnarok, didn't play it for the obvious reason of having not played God of War 2018 or 2019, whatever year it was.
18.
King of Fighters 15. I love King of Fighters, but just didn't get into this one for some reason. Same thing happened with 14. Horizon Forbidden West, same thing as God of War Ragnarok. Didn't play the first one. Just never got around to it. Tunic. Everyone told me it was kind of game I'd probably like. Just never got around to it. Actually didn't even buy it till like the Steam sale in Christmas. And The Quarry. I liked Until Dawn, the bit of it I played. And what I had seen of The Quarry, very similar vibes, and just seemed like the plot seemed very silly, but just never got a chance to do it. So there you go. There's a chunk of 6. I'll give you more when you come back to me.
All right. Not for broadcast. A game that came out earlier in the year, seemed pretty
cool
neat.
Things about this.
Yeah. It just never found the time. Pokemon Arceus sucks because apparently that's the one that's better than the one I played. But so yeah. Dying Light 2, I was kind of waiting for this game. Then when it came out, I heard some like things about it. I was like, you know what? I'm good. Don't care. But I was planning to get back to it on a sale, and then so many other things came out that I just kind of forgot about it. Ollie Ollie World, feel bad that I didn't play this because I think I probably would have liked it.
It's cool. I like Ollie Ollie World.
I have Horizon Forbidden West here. I probably shouldn't because I don't have a PS5, so it's not a pile of shame thing, but I wish I would have played it this year because I liked that first game. And I did want to check out Martha is Dead, but I held off on it back when it came out. There was some weird controversy thing. Not that I care about controversy. I couldn't give a shit less about that, but it was a little pricey than I thought, because I think it was like a $50, $60 game or something. I was like, oh, I heard this is like a 2-hour experience or something, so maybe I'll hold off on that, but I kind of wish I had picked it up. I think that's 6 or 7 there.
Oh, are we? So we're kind of going around, because I can just volunteer one.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
let's
just
do
throwing
that.
them out.
This trip around the horn. Okay, so Sonic Frontiers, definitely was feeling the pull. Wanted to check it out. I've been hearing around the internet that it might be the best Sonic game ever made. So I got to see what that's about.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'll do like a 3, I guess. I have not played Trombone Champ for the
I
main
also
reason
haven't.
of
Yeah.
like
Wow.
I'm just kind of curious. Like, yeah, like it's funny, and I see the videos, and those are funny. Like, do I need to play it, or is the majority of the joke, or do I already have the majority of the
Like,
joke?
listen to
having
this
seen it?
cover.
I think you already had the majority of the joke until you start digging into actually getting the true ending. Then it's like a weird ride.
Okay.
Yeah.
Once Upon a Jester, this was like a random game at like a Nintendo Direct that just like really seemed cool and funny, and they released it the same day, and I just haven't gotten the time to check that out, but it seems up my alley for sure. And then I have Bayonetta 3 on here. I do want to get to that, but it came out when like 1,000 games came out, so something had to give.
Yeah.
You want to give the number 3 for Pile of Shame for the community?
Yeah, the number 3 would be a tie between Elden Ring and Bayonetta 3.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, another 6 from me. Neon White. Even though we did a TTP Plus on this one, I wasn't around for it. And it just seemed like such an interesting concept for a game. I just never got around to playing it. Live Alive, a remake of the Super Famicom RPG. I got to play a little bit of this on stream, and the bit I played was actually really cool, and I liked it a lot. However, just never got to dig into it. So, Digimon Survive, a tactics-based Digimon game with like some other like horror elements and stuff like that. It just seemed like a really interesting idea. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, didn't play it for the obvious reasons of having not finished any of the other Xenoblade games, even though they're separate stories. But apparently it's really good. Frog Gun, Frog with a Gun, or a Frog Gun. This seemed like another PS1-esque era platformer, kind of like Lunistis. Seemed really interesting. Just picked it up late, picked it up on the Steam sale, and then tried to see if Stream wanted it, and it lost to, I think it was River City Girls 2.
Okay.
Which worked out because that ended up on my top 10 anyways.
Yeah.
And Curse to Golf. I love golf games.
Yeah.
This one seemed really interesting, and it had a pedigree of like some well-known devs on it, so I was really curious about it. Just never got around to playing it.
I got really into that game. Not enough to remember it, apparently, but I got into it for a weekend. It was okay. Far Changing Tides. Far Lone Sails is great. This is a successor to that. Just wanted to try it. Never did. Cool. Shadow Warrior 3. I don't know why I never picked this up, but I wanted to, and I just, again, didn't. Young Souls, heard good things about it, never got around to it.
Cool.
Norco, it was on my list of stuff that, like, I really want. That's actually, there's a few that are highlighted here. That's one of my top, like, pile of shames I wish I had got to. Along with a game called Evil West, which came out somewhat recently, which came out during the bombardment of a bunch of other shit, which is why I haven't gotten to it yet.
Yeah.
Dwarf Fortress, I had it wishlisted for a long time, and it just said time is subjective, and I thought that was really funny, so I kept it around. And then it had a date and suddenly existed, so I was like, oh, crap. Well, I don't have time to touch that, scratch that now, so that will surely be of interest in the future. So yeah.
In terms of like, what's the first pile of shame I'm gonna play when some time clears up? It's Crisis Core, the remaster.
Sure.
I want to play that.
Yep.
Midnight Suns is also right up there. New Tales from the Borderlands I have had downloaded for a couple months now, and I'm just waiting to clear some stuff up. There's 3 from me.
Number 2 from the community was a tie between Stray and Sonic Frontiers.
6 more for me. Freedom Planet 2. I liked the first one, even if I didn't finish it. And I'd heard good things about the second one, although I also had some people kind of ragging on it today, so I'm not even sure now. I guess apparently it's still getting patched fairly often. But yeah, no, that seemed interesting. Valkyrie Elysium. I like the Valkyrie games, the profile games. And I was excited to see how this more action-focused one was, but I just picked it up and it just didn't line up with my free time.
Yeah.
Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. One I'm surprised didn't make the top 10 for the community this year.
I can tell you where it is if you want. It is there.
Sure, I'm curious.
The game is real good.
Okay, it is... Oh my god, top 10. Oh, it's real far down. It's 21.
Wow!
And it's tied with the Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative, so yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, I had people say, like, this one's, like, if you like the first one, like, this is good. It's got some weird changes, but still genuinely pretty good, so I'm hoping to get that at some point. Might have cracked my top 10 if I had touched it a bit more. Signalis, a game that I really enjoyed what I did play, but I only played, like, 45 minutes of it. And honestly, that was one of the ones I wanted to prioritize and possibly would have cracked my top 10, but just did not get to put the time into what I wanted. Tactics Ogre Reborn, a remake of the PS1 and Super Famicom game Tactics Ogre Let Us Cling Together. Heard excellent things about it, just never got around to it. And Front Mission First, another remake of a Super Famicom tactics game that I was really excited for, but kind of stealth dropped at the end of November, and I just could not fit it in.
Sure. All right, Salt and Sacrifice came out. I like Salt and Sanctuary. No excuse. I just didn't pick this up and play it, and I feel bad about it. A game called Silt came out. High contrast, think Limbo-like in the way that it's presented, but you are in water of some sort or some giant monster or something. I don't know. It's weird and creepy with like a small field of view around you, like a whole bunch of darkness or whatever, and it's a Metroidvania where you're floating around in some weird goo shit or something, and stuff is trying to kill you. It's super fun from what I played of it, but I never went around to play the full game. Same with Soldiers. Soldiers the demo played incredible, and I was so excited about it. To hear that it runs like shit is disappointing, but also a little relieving that I don't have to maybe play that. So there you go.
If it gets patched a bunch, I do recommend it. It's just, it needs to get patched.
Yeah. Marvel Midnight Suns. I don't know. Marvel weird like tactics thing with visual novel in there. Sure, sign me up. I also had Sifu Frog Gun on here, and I put Bayonetta 3 just because I like Bayonetta games.
I mean, Bayonetta 3 can't be on my list because Bayonetta 2 is still on my list from 8 years ago. So I own it.
2 is so good.
Yeah, I've heard that. So number 1 for me is Elden Ring, which I finally own. I was just coming off back-to-back Souls, like platinuming Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne, so I was like, I think I kind of did that. I don't want this, like, and I'm glad I played those, as this apparently surpasses them, but I still really enjoyed the old stuff. So I didn't want to overshadow those old games that I intended to play. So now I'm ready to play the new one. I'll see what it's about.
Nice.
I have Saints Row on here, just waiting to clear up some co-op game time. I got Rogue Legacy 2 on here, which I have played the intro, but I'm going to have to replay it because that was months ago. I have Ghostwire Tokyo, which I bought when it first went on sale and did not touch it once. So I need to get to that. And then I'll just finish up because I have 2 left. Sports Story came out last week. And I was like, oh, finally, I love Golf Story. Apparently, it's super buggy. So I might wait a bit for that and hope they fix it.
I heard really buggy, and then one of the guys I know that was like super into it was like, yeah, it's not worth it.
Oh, that's so disappointing to hear. And Return to Monkey Island. I need to finish Monkey Island 2 first.
It's true. It does. They have a nice scrapbook that recounts all of those things, but it's better to see it firsthand.
Yeah.
And the top for a pile of shame from the community with solo top, quite a few votes, was Tunic.
Nice.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Last 4 on my list. Pokemon Violet. Got to start the game. Liked what I played of it. Just, it's a Pokemon game. Just had to dig into it because it's an RPG. Speaking of RPGs, Pokemon Legends Arceus. Also wanted to play that. It came out at the beginning of the year, and I just never got around to playing it. I don't even remember what got in the way, honestly. Infernax was Valentine's Day, but that came out before that. Midnight Suns, what I had played of that, again, I liked. Honestly, if I'd played more, it probably would have cracked my top 10. Just never got past the tutorial stage. And Crisis Core FF7 Reunion, same thing, just a very, very late release, too much game to get into at once when I figured I could play a bunch of shorter ones and know for sure if they'd be on my list.
My final few here are the top of my list that I want to get to. Azure Striker Gunvolt 3 came out. Stranger of Paradise, I want to get to. Dwarf Fortress, I want to get to. And the big one that I feel real bad about, actually, this would be my number one, A Plague Tale Requiem, because I liked the story in the first one, and it just fell at such a bad time for me, and it never emptied.
I do like that game.
Yeah, that didn't get like any talk during this show, and I feel bad about it. But
yeah, it's just kind of like not incredible at anything, but like pretty okay at a bunch of stuff. It's like a really good B game.
It's like the first one then. Like
absolutely.
Yeah,
yep.
same problem. Yeah.
I exhausted my list, so I'm just gonna hand the torch over. Yeah,
that's all the lists there.
That's it.
We get into the second last round here, a quick one. This is 2022's 2023 Game of the Year, where we are going to guess, shot in the dark, what next year's Game of the Year is. You guys also, by any chance, remember what your last one was?
I have my list written down here. Yeah.
All right, so John, start us off. What did you guess? Were you right? What's your selection for next year?
My list here says I have. My original list says 4 honorable guesses, my actual guess, and an if it came out guess.
Okay.
So originally I wrote Breath of the Wild 2 was going to be my game of the year if it came out. If it didn't, it was going to be Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which ended up being my number 2 game and probably would have been number 1 if Infernax hadn't come out. So and that was a surprise release to me.
And what are you guessing for next year?
I had honorable guesses for Sea of Stars, which didn't come out, River City Girls 2, which made 5th place, Metal Slug Tactics, which didn't come out, and Bayonetta 3, which I just didn't touch because I'm burned out on Platinum games.
Yeah.
My guess for next year's Breath of the Wild 2.
Moving it along, sure.
Yep. And I'll give an honorable guess to Sea of Stars as well, because I'm pretty sure that is next year.
All right. I guess last year that Elden Ring would be my game of the year.
Got it.
Yeah. So that was a pretty easy target, I think, but nailed it.
Sure.
Okay. Realistically, if they do it right, Resident Evil 4 Remake should probably be very close. I think that's the safe, like, yeah, it's probably going to be there if, like, even if everything...
Top 3 or something.
If everything else is, like... that comes out is okay, and that's like better than okay, that's probably going to be it. My like side guesses were I could see getting really into Starfield or Payday 3 if that actually comes out.
Okay, so, but your official guess is
Resident Evil 4 remake. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So we're just predicting our own game of the year?
Yeah, what we think is going to be our number 1 next year.
I guess Alan Wake 2 if it comes out.
Sure.
Pikmin 4 strong contender if it comes out.
You have to pick one.
Wasn't that 24 for Pikmin 4?
Oh, well, Alan Wake 2 then.
Alan Wake 2. That's interesting. Okay, good one. Yep.
Yeah.
Last year I guessed God of War Ragnarok, I believe. That ended up being number 6 for me. Actually, I can just scroll down and look. I don't know why I'm asking. Yes, God of War Ragnarok. So that ended up being number 6 for me. And I'm gonna guess
4 is in fact 23.
What is 23?
Okay. Apparently that's what they're saying, but it's just a logo right now. My hopes are low, so I'll go with Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
I'm gonna join John in guessing Zelda Breath of the Wild 2.
Or, Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, I was like, it has a name.
But yeah.
But they're changing it because the Queen died. It was sad. So.
All right. Paul, do you want to read off some of our predictions from last year?
We'll
see how correct we were.
The TDP prediction for their game of the year is obvious. It's Zelda 2 by a fucking landslide, like 4 or 5 times the amount of this.
Not even shocking.
Yeah, it's not even close. Not even close. Predictions from last year. Let me quickly.
For those who don't know, last year we made some predictions of kind of events in the games.
Okay, yeah, this is because I was like, I wrote events, I also wrote games, but that was before I knew.
So these were events. Could be release dates, could be announcements, and we made some shots in the dark and see if we were right or wrong.
All right, so from last year, is Switch going to get a hardware revision? We all said, yeah, of course it has to. That thing's a piece of shit now. Like, there has to be something. No.
Yeah.
That makes the next thing non-applicable, but what gets enhanced? Sean, you said 4K output, bigger screen, and both me and John said bigger screen. New Smash characters, because that's just the thing we do every year, apparently now. Sean, you said Spider-Man and Hollow Knight would be in Smash. John said...
I think we said this as a joke, right? Like, I feel like
I
it
don't
was.
think so.
I have no idea. I don't remember.
Because they said they were done last year.
Yeah, that... yeah, so I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't remember when they finished.
John, you said Dante, but specifically Capcom representative of some sort, which is kind of where he came along. And then a Xenoblade character, just nondescript. I don't know if any of this is happening or whatever.
Are you sure this is not from like 2 years ago? Because Xenoblade already had characters
in Smash.
Yeah.
It says predictions
like
2021, so I don't think so. I'm trying to see what else are the predictions we have here.
And it's just they'll load up the roster just like Fire Emblem style.
Yeah, no, this is from last year
keep
this year.
Going.
Weird. All right, keep going then.
And then I just copied what Sean said because I was like, I don't fucking know. Metroid Prime 4 comes out. Sean says
Yay.
no. John says
was
yes,
so fun.
tied, but it's
60
tied.
frames.
But it's tied to a new Switch release. And I said, well, yes, but it's going to be a trailer only. Like, it was Metroid Prime 4. Are they going to do anything with that? I guess Sean was right on that one. Will they fix Cyberpunk? We all said yes.
The answer is kind of?
Yeah, the answer is kind of. So I think that's sure.
People did get way into it this year.
So these might be 2 years old.
You think so?
Well, because I probably would not have guessed Metroid Prime 4 was going to be tied to a new Switch because they tied Dread to the OLED. So they probably wouldn't have done that twice in a row. Yeah. And also, when I was looking at prediction stuff from last year's episode, was Cyberpunk getting fixed was on there. Didn't go through everyone, so I can't confirm, but that one was definitely there.
Yeah, I don't have predictions because this is what says 2021 on it.
Well, we can make new ones, right?
We'll read out a couple more and we'll just see at this point.
Yeah, let me see here. 2021. A price increase to Game Pass.
Is there one on there where we guess what price the Spartacus one is going to be?
Spartacus, no.
That's the Sony one?
No, there isn't.
Because that was last year.
Yeah, then I don't have them. They're probably somewhere, but I'll have to dig a little bit for them.
Yeah, no big deal. All right, let's make new predictions though. And we've streamlined the process a bit. Before we were just kind of coming up with them on the spot. We needed to get it tighter and faster. So each of us came with 3.
I have 3.
Or maybe less. We will.
I have 4.
Zero's less.
One's real sad.
Okay.
So
some of us came with 3 or 4. We will present them to the group, and the other ones will react, and those will be the predictions. So John has 0. Paul, you have some, right?
I have 3. Yep.
Okay, why don't you give us one?
Okay, the first one was Valve releases like a new Steam Deck or like a new version of it, and Nintendo still doesn't have a new Switch.
Okay, so you're saying Valve will do that and Nintendo won't.
Right,
theirs,
so
right?
it's a 2-parter kind of.
Okay. John, what do you think?
I really think there's gonna be. I really feel like Breath of the Wild is tied to a new Switch model. I got this weird feeling about it.
Okay,
that's what makes it hard, right?
Iteration on the Steam Deck.
Yes, absolutely on that.
Okay, so you're yes for both.
Yes.
Okay.
Nathan.
Okay. So Matthew Perry is going to disappear for like a month.
Okay.
To the point where people start getting concerned and they're like, what? We need to hashtag pray for Perry. What's going on? He just got way into Starfield. That's all it is. So he'll appear on a talk show and talk about how awesome Starfield is. And then he just kind of lost track of time. And yeah, Starfield.
Okay. That's great. We need you to react to Paul's first, though.
Sorry, damn it. New Switch, that should happen. I feel it's been a long time and they're sort of falling behind, especially with all the Splatoon 3 problems. But I don't know if that, I think they want that install base, so I don't think it's going to happen. They're going to be slow on this one. And the Steam Deck, yes. I apologize for jumping the gun on that.
It's okay. So you're the same as Paul's.
Yeah.
I don't think there will be a new Steam Deck.
Okay.
And I do think there will be a Switch. So basically the reverse.
Okay.
Damn it.
And John's just optimistic across the board.
I just think like the Steam Deck did way too well for Valve to not like do something with it. And when they did Steam Machines, Valve like went a little too hog wild on that. So I'm expecting them to go a little too hog wild on this. Okay. So that's why I think the Steam Deck will happen, at least even a color revision at the very least, like just a different kit. But yeah, Nintendo was a freaking wild card half the time, so I don't know.
Okay. And so Nathan, your prediction is that specifically Matthew Perry is going to be really into Starfield?
Is going to get so into Starfield that it like makes headlines.
Okay, so Matthew Perry
gets John,
into
what
Starfield.
do you think about that?
Nah.
Not similar enough to Fallout 3? Okay.
No.
Paul?
Yeah, no. Let me tell you why quickly.
No, like he might. I just don't think we're gonna hear about it.
That's the thing, is that it's not gonna make headlines, and I think that's the specific point that I focus in on.
Okay. He might get way into it, but who cares?
Right.
Sure.
As long as one of us is following his Instagram and his Twitter for when he gets the news out, then we can know
I
for
am
sure.
not doing that.
Nathan, that's your job for next year.
Yeah, just keep an eye on Matthew Perry and his habits.
All right,
Look, someone's got to do it.
Let me put here, must follow Instagram. Okay.
Mine is, will the Microsoft Activision buyout go through? I'm saying yes, it will. They will purchase Activision. John.
Yeah, I'd say yes, but the investigation makes it take so long, it doesn't happen till like the end of the year.
But it is going to happen in 23?
I think it will happen in 23, but it will be very close to end of year if the FTC gets involved.
Well, they already are. They're suing them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think it's going to delay it for that long.
I put yes as well.
Yeah.
How long did the Fox Disney thing take to sort out? Because that seems bigger to me in my brain, you know? So, I guess I'd also say, yeah, you know, I'll take the counterpoint. Sony totally bones it up, and like old politicians don't understand video games, so they just say no. They just don't understand. They just don't get it.
Okay, hold on. That's a lot to write. Hold on. Politicians don't understand.
You can just say no, it doesn't.
Games. Oh, I have that. Okay, done.
Paul, another prediction.
Another prediction I have. We get a new version, like a new SKU for the PS5, and like the edition now is more of a basic version that's a little cheaper.
No.
Okay.
Like a Slim.
They literally raised the price this year. No.
What do you mean by basic edition?
Like they're gonna have like a PS5 like Slim or something, like a new version or something.
So nothing's improved other than it's cheaper and lighter.
Right, exactly. Less parts or something.
So it's like it's not a half step console. It's just a new.
Yeah, model. No, not like an upgrade, like a new version or something.
Pro. Yeah. Okay. It's a no from John. And we should say like a significant Slim, because technically they keep putting out new PS5s that are technically lighter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those don't.
Right.
It has to be like
doing that.
It has to be like we. Like
it has to be marketed as such.
Well, I mean, I do have it written here
to happen, but I
SKU.
feel their hubris. Like they raise the price on it, and this new controller is hundreds of dollars. Like I just don't think they're gonna do it.
Oh no.
So,
yeah, I'm gonna say no as well. They're trying to figure out their first batch still. What was your prediction, Paul? They are doing it?
Yes.
Okay. Nathan.
Man, I mean, I'm really hyper specific on purpose here. So, okay. The war in Ukraine ends. There's much rejoicing. Nintendo announces a direct shortly thereafter and everyone assumes it is finally to release that Advance Wars game that got buried when the war started.
Oh my god.
The night before the Direct, China declares war on Taiwan. They put it off again. World events are gonna screw this up yet
Can
again.
you just like copy and paste this to me? Like, what the fuck?
Yep, all that, everything.
Yeah. Yep. 2020s are just bad, so something new is gonna happen.
Advanced War gets pushed again because new conflict.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
I took a guess at the combatants because there's a lot of heat, but yeah.
Oh, I like it.
I'm going halfway. War on Ukraine ends, and Advanced Wars finally gets a release date.
Okay.
But China does not invade
I don't think the
Taiwan?
China-Taiwan conflict
sparks
A
up.
will happen this year, or B will affect Advanced Wars 1 and 2.
Wait, so it will happen eventually, is your prediction?
Yeah, that will eventually happen.
Because it's an island, it would be hard to do tank stuff, so it might be Hong Kong. You're right. Sorry.
Okay.
Getting political.
Mine's actually surprisingly among similar waters here. Game Pass raises its price by $5.
Okay.
It's across the board. Any iteration of it is $5 more now.
Didn't they say they were already doing that?
They've said they're raising the first party games, and they said we probably will not be able to hold our current prices forever.
With some big stuff coming, like Starfield, which Matthew Perry is going to get way into, they're going to probably have to raise it. So I'm going to say $10.
At least for Matthew Perry.
Yeah.
I'm with Sean. It goes up in price.
Yeah, I agree. Nathan kind of up the ante.
Doubled it.
Put yes and says it will be $10.
It's even worse. Yeah. Nice round number.
All right.
Mine's Game Pass related as well, actually.
Okay.
This is kind of specific and I shot in the dark, but the basic idea is that Xbox Live Gold no longer exists and is mixed in with Game Pass permanently, but Game Pass gets like another tier like Sony's trying to do, like a more expensive version or something.
So if you have Game Pass Ultimate, you do get Gold.
Right, but what I'm saying Gold is going to be baked into all of it, and then Ultimate is going to be kind of like the next step up, where the specific thing I have here is that they're going to stop offering day one for anything that isn't a Microsoft Studio period on the basic version. Like, they're going to make a basic version that's worse somehow.
Okay.
But it's going to have Gold.
And also, it's going to be impossible to purchase Gold on its own.
Like, Gold doesn't exist anymore. Exactly.
Okay. All right.
It's super specific, but like, yeah.
I'm going to say I agree with Gold going away. I don't think that they're going to segment out Game Pass because that is doing so poorly for Sony.
Like a tier system with better stuff.
I don't think they would do it. I think they want to keep it
so like no other tier. Okay, I'll put that.
I don't think there'll be another tier, but I do think they will axe Gold once and for all.
That makes sense. Yeah. The Gold thing seems kind of quaint at this point.
In fact, from what I understand, it is hard to just subscribe to Gold. Like, you need to like find a weird website.
I'm kind of splitting my bet here because I already said they'd raise it $10, but like we could do it where it's like that is a tier available, but they're gonna want to keep the same base price. This is actually kind of it.
This is so specific. It's actually kind of three things. So let's say Gold goes away, is one.
And we all sign off on
Game Pass tier change. I guess I'll put or tier addition. And the other one is no, that's probably good actually. So
yeah, because I think the difference.
No, it didn't go up in price. Ultimate is still $50, but Platinum or whatever.
So like Sean said, yes, and then no is basically.
Yeah. And like with my price, it's that the offering they have now will be more expensive next year.
And then Nathan, you also say yes, but no, like other version of Game Pass or whatever.
Like it's hard. It's hard. Yeah, I guess I'd be splitting my bet. I'd be contradicting my previous just raising it. So I guess I'll say no as well.
Right.
It won't quite do that, but I could see. Yeah, I'll just say no.
John, did you respond to that one?
No. Yeah, gold disappears, and the Game Pass goes up in price.
Do you think it gets like a tier system? Like,
No, absolutely not. Because, like you said, like Sony's is doing abysmal. Now that's just Sony not putting much on it. I think Game Pass and Xbox could get away with doing that, but I don't think they'll do it simply because like Sony's feels pretty botched.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nathan, your last prediction.
It's my last one. Okay, good. The other one's too unpleasant, so let's just keep it here. Tintin Reporter, Cigars of the Pharaoh, becomes a surprise hit and greases the wheels for Peter Jackson to finally make a continuation of that film franchise. However, with it comes new scrutiny of the old comics, specifically centered around Tintin in the Congo. So it becomes kind of a Dr. Seuss thing where it's like, oh no, Tintin's being canceled, and a bunch of fake false flag fans are going to get on board and buy up Tintin stuff. It's just going to be a real headache to be a Tintin fan in 2023.
This already happened.
It's already a headache.
My mom brought this cool Tintin figure, Snowy's, in his backpack back from Belgium.
A little snowy booklet this year.
Yeah.
Brittany bought it for me. So yeah, but I'm going to say like it's going to be hard for the real old school Tintin fans.
Going to
there's
be
going to be a bunch of Seuss buy up style stuff going on.
Okay.
You're
Is it going to be
saying
hard
that
for
happened?
Tintin fans?
I know Tintin in the Congo got canceled, but
Yeah, that's something like there was already like the Tintin controversy, like, oh yeah, no, Tintin in the Congo is super racist.
super racist. You can't buy it here, and with good reason.
So what I wrote down is going to be hard for Tintin fans in 2023. Yes or no? Let's go.
I mean, that's just every year. It's hard.
It's hard to be a Tintin
That's just
fan.
every year.
I'm gonna say no. That's too sad. There's no way any of that's happening. I don't want to live in a world where that gets so difficult to be intended. I don't want to feel shame putting this on my desk.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
There. Yeah.
I also don't, but I'm scared it's going to happen.
Yeah. No, it's.
But there is a
that's
video
valid.
game at this. The kernel of this. There is a Cigars of the Pharaoh adventure game coming out.
I totally
So-
forgot about that.
Surprise hit? Yay or nay?
No,
Okay.
I
No.
don't think so. Unfortunately, I mean, I'll be there.
Yeah.
But, it won't be enough. Unless I buy like 4 copies.
I'm also saying no, probably.
Okay. No
All
Tintin
right.
revival or canceling. Just nothing.
Just nothing.
Advanced Wars comes out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope you're
That's
right
yes.
because that means there's no new wars.
Yeah, I say
That's
yes.
my angle on it.
It's like if Nintendo's sitting there waiting out Putin, I don't think they're going to win that one. But maybe they finally think it's been removed enough and they can put it out during a war.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
They just get confident enough to see the difference, I guess. Or they put a little disclaimer at the front. It's like, hey, we're super sensitive about stuff going on, but it's fun. Don't worry about it.
All right. I found the predictions. Let's go over last year's and then let's get out of here. Let's get out.
But Cyberpunk
Yeah.
did come true this year.
So Metroid Prime 4 was on here. It was one of the first ones.
Yeah.
So, no, too soon after last Metroid, said Sean. John said yes, trailer only, specifically because Metroid Dread was good, received well. And I said yes, trailer only, though. So we know how that.
No,
And
no
it-
trailer still.
Switch hardware revision was also on here. And what gets enhanced, and it's literally the same thing. We just rolled it forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do we see Mario Kart 9? Sean said trailer at E3/Nintendo Direct. Actually, we all did. Now that I see here.
Wasn't even an E3.
And
Right.
then we got surprised with the DLC.
Right. There was what is the twist in Mario Kart 9? Like if it appears or whatever. Sean said tracks that are smashed with other tracks, and John and I said Nintendo Kart. Just which sure.
More characters kind of thing, right?
Yeah, just across
Well, just
Nintendo
like
stuff.
Smash Brother-esque, like from other franchises.
Exactly.
And my prediction would have been 3 people in the cart. It's like triple dash.
Sonic
is what
Heroes.
they call it. Yeah.
All right. Does PSVR 2 launch in 2022? We all said yes.
Oops.
Nope.
Well, they announced it in 22.
Yep.
Well, they announced it beforehand, right?
Well, they showed it off.
Did they
Yeah,
announce
yeah.
a price point? Because we guessed what that would be.
They did. They have announced it's
Yes.
$550.
It's $550. Okay. Sean said $350. John said $400, and I said $300. So we were all off.
More expensive than the console.
Does Game Pass get a price increase? We all said no.
Hey, a lot of pessimism.
We got that one right.
There's optimism then. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Sony Spartacus price point for a library subscription. So how much do we think the Sony Spartacus price is going to be? Sean said $10, John said $20, and I split the difference and said $15.
I actually don't know.
I don't remember what the price difference is.
I have
Yeah,
no
I don't
idea
remember
either.
the prices. Let's see.
Sorry, what on earth is Sony Spartacus? It's like Kirk Douglas.
That was like the code name for their tiered subscription service.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. I think these are American prices, which we would have done to compare it to Canadian. 10, 8, 15, and 18. Is PS Plus Essential the catalog? Oh God, this website's like dying. I think the answer is $10.
Okay, so Sean said 10, I said 15, and John said 20. I mean, we're pretty close by
We're all
those
pretty
tiers.
close,
Yeah.
But one was dead on, so.
Yep. Are people happy with Nintendo Online yet?
No.
We all said no.
Splatoon 3!
I mean, yeah, some of the best and some of the worst like experiences. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we all said no.
Yeah. Man, squid hopping within a lobby though, some fun stuff though. Like it's only possible with Nintendo Switch Online. But okay.
It just says here, new Dragon Age? Sean says, yeah, we'll get
announced.
Sean said we get a trailer. John said no. And I said no. Well, maybe a tweet or something. Like a mention.
I'm sure they
Yeah.
I'm sure they tweeted about it.
Yeah.
They tweeted and there's like a minute trailer out there or something like that. It's basically a teaser.
Yeah. Does something with the name E3 still exist? Sean said yes. John said this is the last E3, so yes, but this is the last one. And I said yes as well.
And it turns out it's the reverse. They took this year off, but next year they're back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to mess with everyone. Wow.
Yeah. Just to make us look dumb. Ugh. Does a Steam Deck come out? Or when is it coming out, rather? Sean said April. John said the beginning of March. And I said July.
I don't remember when they actually came out.
I don't remember either.
February, yep.
I think John's the most right. That one.
Did you say John said May?
I said March.
Beginning of March.
Okay. So closest.
Yeah. Okay, so these are game specific now, I guess, or some of these. Pokemon Arceus, like basically, are you going to get it? Are you going to play it? Sean said, "I will have a good time."
Yeah.
Sure.
True.
John said, "Sure." Like you're going to get it and it's going to be okay, I guess.
Yeah.
And
I got it and it was okay.
And I said I won't be getting it, which I did not. So, yay.
We all did it. Hooray.
Okay. Kirby and the Forgotten Land. How is it received? And we all said good.
Which it was.
Yeah.
Yep.
Game of the year for the community.
Yep. Okay. Does Sonic Frontiers actually come out? We all said yes. So we were right.
It did.
Is it well received? Sean said no, it's a bad game.
And he still says that, I believe. So
John says yes. And
It was received well, but it is a bad game.
And I said it's bad, but I like it.
That's accurate. That's the most correct.
All right. This just says Mario movie and then has a few questions underneath it. So about the Mario movie, does it rank higher than the first Sonic movie on Tomato Meter?
I got delayed out of the year. It's supposed to come out in December. Yeah.
So the number we had
Did that get rolled forward then for its release window?
It's going to have to change because
okay.
Sonic we have on the Tomato Meter was 63% when we did this question, like we actually looked it up. So because we had to know, does it rank higher? Sean, you said no, it's going to be around 45%. John said no, close though, it'll be around 58%. And I just said no. I guess I didn't give a percentage.
But Can I tack a prediction onto this one since it hasn't happened?
Like,
Sure, yeah.
I'm gonna say yeah, because people are nuts for Illumination for some reason, critics especially.
Honestly,
so,
it looks pretty decent. Those trailers.
yeah.
let me roll this.
I'm gonna say
forward here.
high 70s, 78, something like that.
Well,
That's probably what I would do,
we have
too.
to look at what is it at now. The Sonic movie, the first Sonic movie on Rotten Tomato.
I wouldn't imagine it would have sunk too much. Maybe it went up. I don't know.
Well, that's what I mean, right? If it went up, then it's going to
Then
make
the
it
new
harder for
mark
the
is
Mario movie.
65.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a sec.
Sonic is still at 63.
It is at 63? Okay, so do we think the Mario movie is going to be higher than 63? I say yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like 75.
Okay. Jack Black's just gonna.
Nathan,
be
what
so
did you
great.
say? Yes?
Yes, my number is 78.
Okay. Sean,
And I'll do
So
76.
certified fresh. Whoa,
76.
all of these are
Wow, this
way
guy.
up.
Sean, what do you think?
I think it'll rate higher, and I think I'm gonna meet you guys around 75 as well, because I'm looking at Despicable Me 1 and 2, and I'm thinking it's gonna be around the same level.
Right, sure, yeah.
Art.
Okay. Sorry, it's between two sheets, which is why it took me a second to move that over. Okay. Does Sonic 2 rank higher than Sonic 1? We all said yes. One of you
The
guys
chat
had...
just said Sonic 2 is at 69.
Okay, so
There you
then
go.
yes. It does. So we were right. Okay. Does God of War Ragnarok come out? Sean said yes. I said yes. John said announced this fall release, bumped to 2023.
Ooh,
So it
it
came
was
out.
close, but it's close though.
And I mean, I'll just tell you this is right. Is it on your list at all? Sean and I said yes, and John said probably not. Have to play the first one first.
Surprise!
Correct across the board.
Yep, exactly. Okay, that's what we had all for
All right.
that.
Okay.
That does it. We're free.
All right,
Everyone
I'm gonna
knows
add
our
on,
favorite games.
I'm adding on one last prediction, so I actually have one.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Sony retaliates by purchasing a well-known studio again.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. That seems like a slam dunk. Yes.
I'm surprised
I
that wasn't a
agree.
carryover from last year, to be perfectly honest.
I don't think they had bought very many yet because they did Destiny Bungie this
When
year.
did they purchase Bungie? Yeah,
That was around the Activision time.
I thought that was 2020
Just-
for some
just
reason.
before it. No, that was this year. But yeah, I think they buy something else.
What do you think, Nathan?
Oh, Sony tries to. Well, my prediction was they bungle up this whole Activision thing. So no, they don't need to because they win on the legal front.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and it might look bad in their argument if they're going out and
if
buying
they
more
immediately
stuff.
go and
Yeah,
do the
that's-
thing they just decried.
That's
so,
a really good point.
yeah.
Some people in chat are saying, weren't there rumors about them buying FromSoft?
There's like always rumors about that.
I was
And
gonna
after
say-
all rumors, that'll
Yeah.
never happen.
FromSoft is like one of those companies that there's literally always a rumor about. So
Isn't FromSoft partially owned by like some gigantic firm, like Kadokawa or Tencent or something like that?
oh
Maybe,
yeah,
I don't know off
sure.
the top of my head.
Okay, Pendulo Studios. They're gonna try to buy that.
What did
Yeah,
Pendulo
FromSoft
Studios
parent
do?
organizations: Kadokawa, Tencent, and Sony.
It's after the surprise success of Tintin Cigars of the Pharaohs.
So he's like, we got to get those guys.
Sorry, I'm just tacking on to my dumb joke. All right.
Yeah, Kadokawa owns 69%.
Nice.
Six Joy Hong Kong, which is Tencent, owns 16.25%, and Sony owns 14%.
Embracer
Cool.
will get them probably.
Yep.
All right, that's the end for real, right? Anyone else?
No.
Okay, that's,
No,
that's
no,
the end for
that's the
real.
end.
Thanks everyone
Yeah.
for listening to this beast of a podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And if any of our games that we mentioned, you went out and played from our recommendation, then you owe us. Just saying,
Royalties, yeah, for sure.
putting that out
Commission.
there, you owe us at
Mhm.
least $2 a month.
Lineback, we're not going to predict any more wars. No.
Sorry, yeah. That's the guest. The guest predicts the wars.
Nathan, thank you so much for joining us. Do you want to?
Yeah.
What are you up to?
Oh, I gotta eat some food, but on the internet, OK Video, we're going into E.T. is our next movie that we're gonna be talking about. So
Nice.
the extraterrestrial, Steven Spielberg, the Fablemans guy. That's what he's known as now.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a classic from 40 years ago. So 41 years ago by the time it comes out. So yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for being here, John and Paul. Thank you for doing your part once again.